Chapter 1931. Of course, Yi Xian had Wei Zhentian search Great Sage's soul after he was sucked into the plant dimension. At first, the Great Sage tried to resist, but the soul-absorbing bell turned into a soul attack. Yi Xian tortured him for a while before the Great Sage finally succumbed to the soul-absorbing bell and was forcibly searched. Thus, Yi Xian already knew what he wanted to know, so the Great Sage was of no use to him. Madame of Bones would deal with the rest herself. Xiao Gu, I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Yi Xian suddenly transmitted to Xiao Gu. Aren't you going to stay here for a few days? Xiao Gu asked. Although she hadn't known Yi Xian for long, they had already become friends. This time, it was all thanks to Yi Xian. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to succeed so quickly. No, I already know what I want to know. There's a friend waiting for me to save. Until next time. Yi Xian shook his head. After tossing a transmission token to Xiao Gu, he turned around and left. Oh, we'll meet again if fate wills it. The Great Sage was beaten to the brink of death. His cultivation had also fallen to the 8th rank of the Great Sage. As long as Madame of Bones restricted his healing, the Great Sage shouldn't be able to cause any big waves. Moreover, Xiao Gu was a powerful fighter. Yi Xian had seen the battle between Xiao Gu and the Great Sage. He felt that Xiao Gu's strength had already surpassed the 9th rank of the Great Sage, and was infinitely close to the Holy Spirit realm. If Xiao Gu wasn't a Zooist, Yi Xian would have considered subduing her. Unfortunately, Xiao Gu was a Zooist, so Yi Xian gave up on this idea. I'll come back and take a look after finding the world-destroying ghost dragon. Yi Xian thought to himself as he flew north. Previously, when Wei Zhentian searched the soul of the Great Sage of Heaven Shaking, Yi Xian found out that the Great Sage of Heaven Shaking was a monkey soldier of the Divine Monkey Palace. Before the upheaval in the 12 Divine Beasts Palace, he almost became a monkey general. After the 12 Divine Beast Palaces changed, the Divine Monkey Palace fought a great battle with their enemies. Some died, while others fled. Then, the heaven-shocking Great Sage also left, coming to this remote place to establish himself as the king. According to his memories, the 12 Divine Beast Palaces were located in the northeast of the Thousand Spider Mountain. As for the Immortal Treasure Mountain, it was near the old site of the 12 Divine Beast Palaces. In that battle back then, because the enemy could not kill the palace master of the Divine Monkey Palace, who had a strong defense, they chose to seal him. Great Sage Heaven Shocking's ring of interspatial rings contained many more heaven-shocking staff types, Yang Qi said. After refining them, Heaven Breaker was able to reach the 9 heaven-shocking staff strikes of the 36 heaven shocking. Yi Xian couldn't help but think as he hurried along. In addition, Yi Xian plucked all of Great Sage Shock Heaven's Anima Destiny monkey hairs for Heaven Breaker to refine. This time, Yi Xian spent more than 10 days on the journey. He did not expect the Immortal Treasure Mountain to be so close. However, there was no Immortal Treasure Mountain on the map, only an Immortal Treasure City. This Immortal Treasure City was built at the foot of the Immortal Treasure Mountain. At this moment, Yi Xian had already entered the Immortal Treasure City. I heard that the Immortal Treasure Mountain has been sealed by an expert. If you want to enter to search for treasures, you have to win a spot. Yi Xian thought to himself. There was an auction in the Immortal Treasure City. If you want to enter, you have to report first and bid for a spot in the auction. After asking around, Yi Xian went to find the auction. However, just as he was about to reach Pahang, a sudden shout entered his ears. Hey, how dare you steal in broad daylight? This shout attracted Yi Xian's attention. Out of curiosity, he strode over. What year was it now? How could someone steal things? How was this possible? After all, everyone had an interspatial ring, which was usually worn on their hands. How could someone steal? When Yi Xian arrived, he saw a group of people in front of him. In the middle of the crowd, there were 2 figures. Of these 2 figures, one was a burly man, while the other was a short middle-aged man with a shifty-eyed appearance. At this moment, the short middle-aged man was lifted up by the burly man, as if he was carrying a chicken or a duck. How dare a mere great saint try to steal from me? Do you want to die? The burly man scolded. As he spoke, his saliva flew and sprayed on the short middle-aged man's face. The short middle-aged man swallowed his saliva and said, My lord, you know that I'm only a great saint. How dare I steal from you? This burly man was a saint spirit that surpassed the great saint. He was a second-grade saint spirit. Naturally, he could see the short middle-aged man's realm at a glance. Just now, he clearly felt the short middle-aged man's hand slide across the back of his hand. At the same time, the interspatial ring loosened a little. If he had not reacted quickly, the interspatial ring might have been lost. Crack! Hearing this, the burly man did not say much. He directly clenched his big fist and punched the short middle-aged man's face. In an instant, the short middle-aged man's nose was broken, and 2 streams of blood flowed out from his nose. My lord, I really didn't want to steal from your interspatial ring. I just accidentally touched it when I was passing by, said the short middle-aged man timidly. But in the next moment, he suffered again. Slap! The burly man directly slapped the short, middle-aged man's nose and face were bruised and swollen. My lord! Slap! The burly man slapped the short, middle-aged man again. This interspatial ring contained all his belongings. If it was stolen, all his hard work over the years would be in vain. So, he did not listen to the short, middle-aged man at all. He raised his hand and slapped the short, middle-aged man again. Slap! At this moment, a man with a sense of justice suddenly stood up and said, "Stop it. He's just passing by. He's only a 9th-grade great saint, and you're a 2nd-grade saint spirit. Even if you're asleep, he can't steal it." Hearing someone speaking for the short middle-aged man, the burly man immediately glared at him and said, "What do you know? This man's height is very different from mine. My shoulder is much taller than his head. How can he touch my hand when he's walking?" His words and his unreasonable manner made many passers-by feel disgusted. However, the burly man's words made some sense. The burly man was a head taller than the short, middle-aged man. Logically speaking, it was impossible for their hands to touch. As soon as the burly man said this, the others fell silent. Even the man who had just stood up did the same. It was better to have less trouble than more trouble. "How dare you steal from me? See if I don't kill you." Seeing that no one stood up for the short middle-aged man, the burly man continued to slap the short middle-aged man's face. A series of crisp slaps were heard. "Stop hitting him. The city guards will be here soon." Suddenly, someone reminded him. "Cut the crap. Are you his accomplice?" The burly man suddenly turned his head and asked. Chapter 1932. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Then shut up. I'm from the Yi clan. Let's see who dares to meddle in my business. The strong man's words stunned the surrounding people. Although he was only a 2nd-grade saint spirit, he was from the Yi clan in the Immortal Treasure City. He was not someone the surrounding people could afford to offend. In the Immortal Treasure City, the Yi clan was one of the 3 major clans. Almost all of the weapon shops in the Immortal Treasure City belonged to the Yi clan. If the forces in the Immortal Treasure City were to be ranked, the Wang clan of the City Lord Manor would be ranked first, followed by the Yi clan and the Lin clan. Then, the 2 people silently retreated into the crowd and watched the short middle-aged man spurting blood. Slap, slap, slap. The strong man slapped the short middle-aged man 3 more times before throwing him to the ground. Looking at the short middle-aged man's swollen face, he could not help but say, "I'm in a good mood today, so I'll spare your life. Get lost." When the short middle-aged man heard this, he did not bother to wipe the blood off his face and quickly squeezed out of the crowd. The surrounding people were secretly cursing the strong man for using the Yi clan's background as an accomplice. At this moment, a scream suddenly rang out. "My Chen Kuan ring is gone." This scream entered everyone's ears. When they heard it, they did not immediately turn their heads away. Instead, they subconsciously touched their fingers. "Ah, where's my Chen Kuan ring? Impossible. I always have my Chen Kuan ring with me. How could it be gone? Damn it, who stole it?" Screams continued to ring out. Without exception, the surrounding people's Chen Kuan rings were stolen. Immediately, the crowd was in an uproar. "Ha ha ha, you bunch of idiots. I told you he's a thief. My Chen Kuan ring." Before the strong man could finish his words, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. He saw that his hands were empty. The Chen Kuan ring on his hand was also gone. Bastard! That person must be a bait to gather us here and then take the opportunity to steal the Chen Kuan ring with his accomplices. Damn it! Did anyone see where he went?
Go after him, that's all my Qian Kuan ring.
We must find him. Yi Xian shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry as he listened to the roars of the people in front of him. To be able to steal so many people's cosmos rings under the watchful eyes of so many people, this gang of thieves was very sharp. He subconsciously glanced at his hand, only to find that the interspatial ring on his hand had disappeared. What? Mine is gone too? Yi Xian was extremely shocked. However, he was only a rank 2 saint, which was a very low rank. Even a second-rank Holy Spirit had his interspatial ring stolen, so it was normal that he did not notice. Forget it. The interspatial ring is just a decoration anyway. Thinking of this, Yi Xian shook his head. He was not angry. Instead, he was gloating. The group of people began to discuss countermeasures, but no one noticed the short middle-aged man's whereabouts, so they could only organize and report to the city lord's mansion to arrest the short middle-aged man. This was just a small episode that did not harm Yi Xian's interests, so Yi Xian could not be bothered to turn back time to find out who stole from him and these people. Then, he directly left and went to the entrance of the Immortal Treasure Auction House. What a coincidence. Tomorrow is the annual auction. I'll come and take a look then, Yi Xian thought to himself. However, to enter the auction, one needed a ticket. Although the ticket was not expensive, even an advanced great saint might not be able to afford it. Moreover, those who wanted to enter the Immortal Treasure Mountain to search for treasures were at least in the Holy Spirit realm. It was impossible for a great saint to compete with them for a spot. If he missed this auction, he would have to wait another year. After all, the Immortal Treasure Mountain only opened once a year. Yi Xian went to buy a ticket to the auction house and then left. The attendant at the auction house was a little surprised. Yi Xian was only a rank 2 saint, but he was able to buy a ticket. Could he be a disciple of a big family? Very soon, a day had passed. The next day, Yi Xian arrived at the auction house and directly entered the venue. He only bought an ordinary ticket, which was one of the 10,000 low-level seats in the auction house. Above that, there were intermediate, superior, and various levels of private rooms. The audience entered one after another, and the seats were quickly filled. Yi Xian could not help but sigh. It was so easy to make money. Just the ticket alone could make him a lot of money. However, the strength of the Immortal Treasure City's city lord was extraordinary. The money might be a drop in the ocean in his eyes. The auction begins. The treasures that were being auctioned were nothing more than sacred artifacts, martial arts, heaven and earth treasures, so Yi Xian was not interested in the first few items at all. Many people were like Yi Xian, quietly watching. They were only there to broaden their horizons. About half a day later. All right, I'm sure everyone can't wait any longer. Next, let's start the auction for the Immortal Treasure Mountain spots. An old man suddenly walked up to the auction stage. As soon as he said that, the entire auction house was in an uproar. Was it finally time to start the auction for the Immortal Treasure Mountain spots? As usual, the first round of 50 spots. The starting price is 1 million saint stones, and each bid must be at least 10,000 saint stones. Begin. As soon as the old man finished speaking, someone immediately raised the price. 1,500,000. Only one of the 3 great families of the Immortal Treasure City, the Yi family, could be so generous. They immediately raised the price by half. The price of 1,500,000 for 50 spots was equivalent to 30,000 saint stones per spot, which was considered a normal price. In the past, most of the spots were sold at this price. All right, let's begin the second round of the auction. There are 40 spots, and the starting price is 800,000. Old Wang, don't say so much. 1,200,000. An old voice came from a treasure chest. It was the representative of the Lin family, one of the 3 great families of the Immortal Treasure City. The unit price was also 30,000 saint stones per chest, which was about the same as the Wang family. In the previous auctions, it had become a tradition. The first 2 spots were for the Yi family and the Lin family. Although there were many external forces, they had all heard of the saying that a strong dragon could not suppress a snake in its own territory. Next, there were 30 spots, 20 spots, and 10 spots. The first 2 spots were priced at around 30,000 saint stones, but the later spots were priced at 35,000, 40,000, and even 50,000 saint stones. One spot cost 50,000 saint stones. Even a second-grade saint spirit would not be able to take out that much easily. However, if Yi Xian pooled together, he could still take out that much. Immediately, Yi Xian began to raise the price. In the end, he won a spot for the Immortal Treasure Mountain at a price of 53,000 saint stones. Chapter 1933. There were about 500 slots in this auction, and they were won by all kinds of people. Yi Xian was one of them. In about a week, the Immortal Treasure City would organize people to escort them into the Immortal Treasure Mountain, and then they would begin to search for treasures. Soon, all the slots were won. Then, it was time for other things. Everyone, don't be in a hurry to leave. The slots in the Immortal Treasure Mountain are not the last auction item. At this time, the auctioneer's old man suddenly said. Many people wanted to get up and leave, but after hearing this sentence, they sat back down. Over the years, the slots were always auctioned last, but now there was a final auction item. What was it? After everyone sat down, the old man went over and brought a plate up. This plate was covered with a layer of red cloth, and no one knew what was under it. However, many people felt that this auction item was probably not the same as the ones they had seen before. Its aura made many people's hearts palpitate. What is that? I feel that it should be a magic treasure. What kind of item would be the final auction item? TSK, this ticket is not a loss. The audience looked on excitedly, but the old man did not remove the red cloth, deliberately keeping people in suspense. Everyone can't wait, right? Well, I'll show it to everyone. After the old man finished speaking, he removed the red cloth. What entered everyone's eyes was a pair of gloves. This pair of gloves was obtained when the Immortal Treasure Mountain opened last time. It is a sage ruler weapon, but it seems to be a little damaged. However, it is also the most precious auction item in the history of the auction. The old man said slowly. When these words came out, everyone was shocked. Sage ruler weapon. It was actually a sage ruler weapon. Heavens, someone actually found a sage ruler weapon. How lucky is this? A sage ruler weapon is a weapon used by a sage ruler expert. If I can get it, I can definitely kill enemies above my level. Such a good item. Why didn't the city lord keep it for himself? Nonsense, the city lord uses a sword. Why would he need a pair of gloves? The audience was in an uproar. Although it was a little damaged, it was still a sage ruler weapon, which was much better than a spiritual saint weapon. This was no longer something that an ordinary person could touch. The city master has already evaluated it. This king-class saint weapon is about 80% damaged, so the price won't be as high as you think. However, it's still more valuable than a top-quality spirit-class saint weapon, said the old man. He couldn't help but glance at the clans. Only these big shots could afford such a thing. All right, the starting bid for this king-grade saint artifact is 50 million saint stones. Each bid must be at least 1 million saint stones. Begin. Surprisingly, none of the great clans and powers present made a bid. The entire place suddenly fell silent. This was a pair of gauntlets. It was considered a relatively common weapon, so it should be quite popular. However, the reason why the various clans did not increase the price at this time was because they knew that this auction would be very intense. A king-grade saint weapon could greatly increase a person's strength. If it fell into the hands of a leader of a great force, it would definitely be able to lead a force. Those people were calculating how many saint stones they could afford and how high the price of the king-grade saint weapon would be. Since no one is willing to make the first bid, let me do it, said an old voice. It was the person in charge of the Yi clan. 100 million saint stones. The Yi clan was very generous. They immediately doubled the starting bid of the king-grade saint weapon. If 100 million saint stones were used to buy a place to enter the Celestial Treasure Mountain, they could buy at least 300 places. This was already a lot. After all, even great clans like the Yi clan and the Lin clan might not be able to enter the Celestial Treasure Mountain every year. The Yi clan leader is very generous. However, I am also a martial artist. This king-grade saint weapon, I can't give it away. 150 million. The person who spoke was the Lin clan leader. Since that's the case, the highest bidder will get it. 200 million. 250 million. 300 million. The Yi clan and the Lin clan began to fight. Everyone knew that the Yi clan leader and the Lin clan leader must have received news of the king-grade saint weapon in advance for them to appear here. In the past, They would at most send someone to participate in the auction. The clan leader would never appear. Therefore, everyone began to watch the show one after another. In the blink of an eye, the price had risen to 500 million. It was a very terrifying number. TSK, TSK, TSK. It was not easy for me to spend 50,000 to buy a place, but they just casually offered 500 million. It's so infuriating to compare oneself to others. Yi Xian thought to himself. The difference between 50,500 million was 10,000 times. However, he was only a second-grade saint. The Yi clan leader and the Lin clan leader had hopes of breaking through to an advanced sacred spirit in their lifetime. Of course he could not compare. In terms of wealth, the Lin clan could not compare to the Yi clan. However, the Lin clan leader happened to have a weapon that he liked this time. Even if he had to go bankrupt, he had to buy it. 700 million. The Lin clan leader reluctantly shouted the price. When the Yi clan leader heard this, he hesitated. He mainly cultivated his sword skills. The king-grade saint weapon was for others to use. Therefore, the Yi clan leader was a little reluctant to part with it. Yi clan leader, are you giving up? The auctioneer could not help but ask. If the Yi clan gave up, no one would bid against the Lin clan. Then, the auctioneer would earn less money. If this king-grade saint tool was a sword-type weapon, I would have raised the price to the maximum. Unfortunately, it is a pair of gloves, so I will give it to the Lin family head, said the Yi family head, trying to give himself a way out. Haha, thank you Yi clan leader, the Lin clan leader said with a smile. In this way, the king-grade saint weapon would belong to the Lin clan. However, at this moment, boom! Suddenly, an earth-shattering loud sound attracted everyone's attention. Everyone turned around and saw that a big hole had been blasted in one of the walls of the auctioneer's booth. Who was the one who did this? Who dared to do this in the auctioneer's booth? Didn't they know that it was owned by the city governor? However, this was just a pretense. The real show was yet to come. While everyone's attention was on the big hole, a strong wind blew on the auctioneer's booth. A black figure rushed up quickly. His target was the king-grade saint weapon. How dare you steal from my auction house? Chapter 1934. However, what happened next was something that even he did not expect. The black shadow was very fast, and when it got close to the old man, it suddenly burst out and snatched the gauntlet from the old man's hand. What? The old man was shocked. By the time he reacted, the glove was already in the hands of the black shadow. Since the glove was an auction item, there was an array on it that prevented it from being put into an interspatial ring. After all, the hardness of a king-grade saint artifact was much higher than an interspatial ring. However, no one expected that someone would snatch the king-grade saint artifact on the spot and put it on. If the glove was lost, it would be a great loss to the auction house. After all, they had bid 700 million saint stones for it. Most importantly, the glove was still in the hands of the auction house. They had not sold it to the Lin family yet. If the glove was lost, the Lin family would not be able to pay for it. You are courting death. The old man was furious. He threw a punch at the black shadow. However, the black shadow's combat strength increased tremendously after he put on the king-grade saint artifact. Bang! One punch. With just one punch, the old man, a fifth-grade saint spirit, was sent flying. So powerful. The crowd trembled. They could feel that the black shadow was only a third-grade saint spirit. However, after he put on the king-grade saint artifact, he was able to send a fifth-grade saint spirit flying with one punch. Everyone was shocked. Was this the power of a king-grade saint artifact? Even if it was only 80% damaged, it was still much more powerful than a spiritual-grade saint artifact. After the black shadow sent the old man flying, he quickly turned around and left at lightning speed. Stay here. The Lin family head had to make a move. He had his eyes on the king-grade saint artifact. If the black shadow took it away, where could he buy it? However, the black shadow was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the auction house. There was no sign of him at all. Who on earth was that? Bastard! Search him. The old man spat out a mouthful of blood and shouted angrily. Who on earth dared to steal the glove in front of a group of experts? Who had the guts? However, this was not the most shocking thing. Ah! Where is my interspatial ring? What? My interspatial ring is gone too?
Damn it!
Someone stole my interspatial ring. The entire venue was in an uproar again. Since the start of the shoot, there had been people leaving one after another, but at that time, there had been no abnormalities. Now, the King Grade Saint artifact had been snatched away on the spot. Then, more than 1,000 people discovered that they had lost their interspatial rings. This was definitely a premeditated incident. Who was it? Waiters, it's those waiters, the people who pour tea for us. Someone finally reacted. Unfortunately, they reacted too slowly. Not a single one of those attendants remained, all of them leaving. The old man realized the importance of this matter, and immediately took out a communication token to inform the Immortal Treasure City's city lord. At this moment, Yi Xian, who was hidden in the crowd, narrowed his eyes slightly. The person who had stolen the King Grade Saint artifact had already been issued a death hunt order by the old man when he had clashed with him. Simply put, he could find that person. His opponent now had a King Grade Saint artifact. With Heavenbreaker's current strength, he definitely wouldn't be able to defeat the old man who had sent a 5th-stage Holy Spirit flying with a single punch. However, he could give that person's position to the City Lord's mansion. He believed that the City Lord's mansion would definitely reward him handsomely. Let's go take a look first. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and left the auction house. He was only a 2nd-stage saint, so no one would notice him. According to the Death Hunt Order's reaction, the other party's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived at the city gate and left the Immortal Treasure City. When the City Lord heard about this, he immediately ordered the city gate to be closed. Unfortunately, he was still one step too late. When Yi Xian arrived at the city gate, he realized that the city gate was already closed. However, this didn't affect him from leaving the city. Swoosh! The void gate opened and Yi Xian directly passed through it, arriving outside the Immortal Treasure City. There must be a tracking mark on that King Grade Saint artifact, and it couldn't be stored in an interspatial ring. That thief had to break the seal, otherwise, he would definitely be caught. Therefore, he quickly left the Immortal Treasure City. About a day later, the thief broke the seal and stored the King Grade Saint artifact in his interspatial ring. This way, the City Lord's mansion wouldn't be able to catch up with him. However, what he didn't know was that there was another person following in his footsteps. The seal is finally broken. I didn't expect to find the Palace Master of the Purple Gold Palace's weapon. The heavens are really helping me. In a mountain some distance away from the Immortal Treasure City, a young man played with the gloves in his hands with a complacent look. He was the person who had stolen the King Grade Saint artifact from the auction house. However, what he didn't know was that there was a hidden person nearby who heard his words. This person was Yi Xian, who wore the flowing light invisibility cloak and the Death Hunt Order. The Palace Master of the Purple Gold Palace? After Yi Xian heard this, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. Among the 12 Divine Beast Palaces, the Divine Monkey Palace's Palace Master was called the Palace Master of the Broken Sky Palace, and the Demon Rat Palace's Palace Master was called the Palace Master of the Purple Gold Palace. Could it be that this young man in front of him was related to the Demon Rat Palace? Thinking of this, Yi Xian had the urge to test it out. Anyway, he had the time reversal skill. Sir, is the Palace Master of the Purple Gold Palace the one from the 12 Divine Beast Palaces? Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice fell into the young man's ears. Who is it? When the young man heard this, his body trembled violently. He was a 3rd-grade saint spirit, but he didn't notice someone approaching him. What was going on? At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly pulled off the flowing light invisibility cloak and revealed his true appearance. A 2nd-grade saint? The young man was very surprised. A 2nd-grade saint could actually approach him silently. This was impossible, so there was only one explanation. This person's cultivation level was higher than his. Who are you? This time, the young man didn't run away immediately because Yi Xian said something that piqued his interest. Who I am is not important. What's important is the Palace Master of the Purple Gold Palace the Palace Master of the Demon Rat Palace of the 12 Divine Beast Palaces? Yi Xian said. He knows about the 12 Divine Beast Palaces? The young man was a little surprised because the 12 Divine Beast Palaces had been destroyed a long time ago. He glanced at Yi Xian and said, What does it have to do with you? Of course it has to do with me. After Yi Xian finished speaking, he directly summoned Patian and said, It has the bloodline of the heaven-splitting divine ape. The bloodline of the heaven-splitting divine ape. The young man was naturally familiar with this bloodline because the palace master of the divine monkey palace was a heaven-splitting divine ape. In that case, this little monkey was the son of the palace master of the heaven-splitting divine ape? I remember that in that battle, the people of the divine monkey palace were scattered. Some even fled to other realms in order to survive. The young man thought to himself. Chapter 1935. Then what do you want to do? The youth asked. Do you know that the palace master of Shattering Heaven Palace is sealed in the celestial treasure mountain? That's why I came here this time to rescue the palace master of Shattering Heaven Palace. I do know that Shattered Heaven Palace master is sealed in the immortal treasure mountain, but you want to break the seal? You're making me laugh. The youth suddenly laughed. What? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Although he was a second-rank saint, Shattered Heaven's strength had already reached the Holy Spirit realm. Do you know that the person who sealed Shattered Heaven Palace Master is a Saint King? You want to break the seal? The youth snorted. Then do you know that 20 years ago I wasn't even an immortal? Yi Xian retorted. As soon as he said this, the young man was stunned. 20 years ago he wasn't even an immortal, but 20 years later he was already a saint. How was this possible? If you don't believe me, then take a look. Yi Xian said and took out an age-testing crystal. Less than 100 years old. The youth suddenly didn't know what to say. After a long time he said, if that's the case, you might be able to become a Saint King. 20 years ago he wasn't even an immortal, and there were more than 30 realms between immortal and saint. It was impossible to go from an immortal to a saint in 20 years. However, Yi Xian was indeed less than 100 years old, which was even more inconceivable. In the current world, even 10,000 years old was considered young, let alone 30 years old. Since that's the case, then let's join forces. Yi Xian said. Join forces? The current you doesn't have the qualifications to join forces with me. The youth shook his head. Then forget it. Yi Xian didn't plan to say anything more to this youth because he could see that the youth didn't take him seriously. If that was the case, he might as well act alone. The 12 divine beast palaces weren't so harmonious back then. The demonic dragon palace, demonic rat palace, demonic snake palace, demonic ox palace, and demonic tiger palace didn't have a good relationship with the other 7 palaces. Thus, when the bull-horned middle-aged man saw the heaven-breaking divine ape, he did not choose to take it away. However, due to the fact that Shattered Heaven Palace's palace master was once a member of the 12 divine beasts palaces, the other party told Yi Xian some things. Later on, Yi Xian searched Great Sage Startling Heaven and learned more about the 12 god-beast palaces. At this moment, the young man in front of him was already someone from the Demon Rat Palace, so he had the speed of the wind. Moreover, what he used should be the Demon Rat Palace's Demon Shadow Hand. Back then, the palace master of the Palace of Purple Gold's demonic Shadow Hand was extremely powerful. He could unleash dozens of punches in an instant. His battle prowess could be ranked in the top 3 of the 12 divine beast palaces. Seeing Yi Xian turn around and leave, the young man quickly thought for a moment and reminded him, you should find a place to cultivate. Come find me when you break through to the Holy Spirit realm. I can't wait that long. I'll be entering the immortal treasure mountain in a few days, said Yi Xian. With your level, you're really courting death if you go in. The young man snorted. This time, Yi Xian did not answer. He directly put on the flowing light invisibility cloak, then broke through the void and left. It seemed that this time he had misjudged. If the other party was someone from the other 6 palaces, it would be great. At that time they could definitely join forces. Unfortunately, this young man was from the Demon Rat Palace and did not seem to have much interest in breaking the seal on Shattered Heaven Palace's palace master. Soon, Yi Xian returned to the Immortal Treasure City. At this time, the Immortal Treasure City was already in an uproar. Many city guards were patrolling, trying to find the person who stole the King-grade Saint tool. However, at that time, the young man was wearing a cloak, and his speed was very fast. The patrolman did not see the young man's face clearly. Now, it was not so easy to find him. This search took several days. Today was the opening day of the Immortal Treasure Mountain. Although a series of events had happened before, that was the patrolman's own business, so it could not be delayed. Yi Xian had an entry token, but this time, the one entering the immortal treasure mountain was not him. Although he had broken through to the third-grade saint realm in these few days, his realm was very low. After all, even a third-grade great saint would not dare to enter. Therefore, while waiting, he used the soul-absorbing bell to forcibly capture a ninth-grade great saint, using it to deceive others. At that time, this ninth-grade great saint would enter the immortal treasure mountain with the entry token and Wei Zhentian. Wei Zhentian could carry out a special void positioning. At that time, Yi Xian could break through the void and enter the immortal treasure mountain. At this time, this ninth-grade great saint had already entered the immortal treasure mountain on the City Lord's Mansion's mount. Everyone, from today onwards, you can move freely in the immortal treasure mountain for the next 30 days. After 30 days, the immortal treasure mountain will be in chaos. At that time it will be very dangerous. Even high-level holy spirits may not be able to survive. Therefore, you should take advantage of the situation to leave the immortal treasure mountain with the entry token. An expert from the City Lord's Mansion said loudly. Every time, the immortal treasure mountain could only be explored for 1 month. After 1 month, something terrible would happen. This was the experience of countless years. As for why this was the case, no one knew. Soon, these 500 people left together. Previously, there were 500 spots in the auction, but that didn't mean that only 500 people could enter. After all, there were still experts from the City Lord's Mansion. The City Lord's Mansion was the power that controlled the immortal treasure mountain, so they didn't need a spot to enter. However, they couldn't enter at any time. After all, there were 4 seasons in a year. Only this month would be like this, and the other 11 months would be in a state of chaos. The ninth-grade great saint controlled by Yi Xian quickly left the team. Then, Yi Xian broke through the void and sneaked in. Palace Master Patian is sealed in the immortal treasure mountain, but I don't know where the seal is. I still have to find it slowly. After thinking about this, Yi Xian began to explore the immortal treasure mountain with the ninth-grade great saint and Patian. There were many holy beasts in the immortal treasure mountain, and even high-level holy beasts, so it was very dangerous. In every exploration team, less than 1/5 of them could leave alive. In other words, there would be a lot of people dying every time. One must know that these people who entered were at least Holy Spirit realm, and the stronger ones were 5th-grade Holy Spirits. So, the probability of dying was too high. Roar! Yi Xian hadn't gone far when a tiger-type holy beast pounced on him. 2nd-grade Holy Spirit. In this case, the effect of using the Myriad Beasts diagram wasn't as good as using the Mystic Divine Battle Armor. So, Yi Xian directly let Patian with a Mystic Divine Battle Armor. Heaven-startling 9-stick strikes. 9 stick shadows fell on the holy beast's head, instantly smashing it into meat paste. Instant kill. Chapter 1936. However, every time Heaven Breaker attacked, he would go back to sleep for a while. Fortunately, he had the planting space, so Heaven Breaker quickly recovered and reappeared. Next, Yi Xian killed everyone he saw. However, they were still near the foot of the immortal treasure mountain. If they continued to climb, they would encounter even more powerful sacred beasts. I still have a month to explore, but I'm not strong enough now. Why don't I kill some sacred beasts near the foot of the mountain? Yi Xian thought to himself. His current strength was very awkward. Heaven Breaker could fight a 3rd-rank sacred spirit at most. It was not enough to survive in this place. Therefore, Yi Xian decided to use half a month to improve his cultivation before climbing the mountain. At the same time, Wei Zhentian had a magic treasure called the 1,000 Beast Cauldron. This magic treasure could refine beast corpses into beast cores. This beast core was a great tonic for Zuyoists. Yi Xian did not lack cultivation resources now, so he did not need to devour beast corpses to level up. These corpses were all refined into beast cores by the 1,000 Beast Cauldron for Blackhorn and Luoluo to break through. Blackhorn and Luoluo's realms began to improve rapidly. About 10 days later, Blackhorn and Luoluo both reached the high Great Saint level. Yi Xian himself was a 5th-rank saint, and Heaven Breaker was a 9th-rank saint, only 1 step away from the Great Saint level. Their current strength was enough to survive in the immortal treasure mountain. There are more than 10 days left. Let's start climbing. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He began to move toward the peak of the immortal treasure mountain. The higher he went, the stronger the sacred beasts were. Wei Zhentian could not split himself, so he could not use the Myriad Beasts diagram and the Mystic Divine Armor at the same time. Otherwise, their survival ability would be greatly improved. Hey, there's a 5th-rank Saint Brat here. How did he get in? A discordant voice sounded. Yi Xian took a look and found that it was a low-level sacred spirit. Not to mention other things, just calling Yi Xian a brat was enough to kill him several times. Before he could continue, an aura appeared out of thin air nearby. It was Black Horn's. You dare to scold my boss? You're courting death. Black Horn didn't say anything. He turned into a stream of light and killed him instantly. Although Black Horn had not transformed into his true form, he had the support of the mystic divine armor. Moreover, he was a 7th-grade great saint. It was too easy for him to deal with a low-level holy spirit. After this person died, Yi Xian quickly went over and collected his interspatial ring. Heh, it's actually someone from the Yi clan. Yi Xian was slightly surprised. The Yi clan was one of the 3 great clans of the Immortal Treasure City. They were also the most generous one, directly obtaining 50 spots for the Immortal Treasure Mountain. However, there were only 49 left. However, what Yi Xian did not know was that the members of the Yi family were rather united. They could even sense the direction of their own people. When that person died, the other 49 people immediately knew. Yi Beihuang is dead. What happened? Let's go and take a look. Yi Beihuang was the one we were searching for at the foot of the mountain. There shouldn't be anyone who could threaten him there. How did he die? Immediately, the people of the Yi clan at the mountainside and the foot of the mountain rushed in the direction of Yi Beihuang's death. At this time, Yi Xian was moving toward the mountainside. It was inevitable that he would encounter the people of the Yi clan. Strange, why is there a saint here? Something is wrong. One of the people who encountered Yi Xian could not help but think. After all, those who entered were at least holy spirits. Yi Xian was just a saint. He was not even a great saint. How did he enter? Most people would be astonished. Immediately, the expert of the Yi clan charged toward Yi Xian, ready to capture Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian had already discovered him. Kill. Yi Xian did not give the opponent time to talk nonsense. He directly ordered Black Horn to kill him. Among the 50 people of the Yi clan who entered this time, most of them were 3rd-grade holy spirits. There were not many mid-grade holy spirits. Yi Xian now had the ability to contend with mid-grade holy spirits, so he was not afraid at all. Then, the people of the Yi clan came to their deaths one by one. Yi Xian took them all. These people had also killed many holy beasts. Once they died, all their belongings fell into Yi Xian's hands. I got a lot of Dhamma treasures. Although they are all broken, they are not bad. Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction. He knew that these people thought that there was something fishy about him because of his cultivation level. They all wanted to capture him and search his soul. However, they did not expect that he would kill them all. From the beginning until now, he had killed more than 10 people of the Yi clan. In addition to the others, he had killed about 25 people. However, the mass death of the Yi clan's experts attracted the attention of the mid-grade holy spirits. What's going on? They all died on the same path. Did someone deliberately kill them? One of the mid-grade holy spirits wondered, then rushed in the same direction. At this time, Yi Xian was almost at the mountainside of the Immortal Treasure Mountain. He heard that there was a safe zone there that was opened up by the city lord of the Immortal Treasure City. There were several high-level holy spirit-level puppets, and no one was allowed to make a move there, even the people from the city lord's mansion. This place was originally meant for others to rest, but it was hard to say what would happen next. Yi Xian soon arrived at the safe zone. However, his appearance attracted the attention of everyone in the safe zone. More than 50 people? Yi Xian looked at the people in the safe zone and narrowed his eyes. The safe zone was established between the foot and mountainside of the mountain. Most people would search around here and would not move to the mountaintop. After all, high-level holy spirit sacred beasts were entrenched there. It was very dangerous. However, the appearance of this saint, Yi Xian, was a bit strange. Strange. Why is there a holy spirit here? I'm not sure. The hundreds of people who came in were all holy spirits. There can't be a holy spirit here. Does that mean he was originally in the Immortal Treasure Mountain? Quick, catch him. He might know something. Immediately, many people rushed out of the safe zone and rushed toward Yi Xian. Black Horn, Luo Luo, It's time for you to show your skills. Yi Xian snorted. In the next moment, Luo Luo, who was wearing the mystic divine armor, and Black Horn, who was in his original form, appeared together. Their current strength had already surpassed that of a low-level Holy Spirit, reaching the level of a rank 4 Holy Spirit.
These people were not to be feared at all.
Suddenly, there was a bloody storm outside the safe zone. Countless severed limbs flew, and the living people were killed one by one, turning into corpses. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the people nearby were killed. Even the corpses were taken by Yi Xian. Chapter 1937. However, there were still a few 4th-grade sacred spirits in the safe zone. They also felt that Yi Xian was very strange, so they walked out after looking at each other. The Lin family and the Wang family of the City Lord's mansion? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. He had searched many people's souls before, so he knew about the hundreds of people who had entered the Celestial Treasure Mountain this time. Luo Luo and Blackhorn's combat power were equivalent to 4th-grade sacred spirits, but they were going to face 4 4th-grade sacred spirits. They were at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. In this case, they could only ask Heavenbreaker for help. Another little monkey has appeared. The group of people was very surprised when they saw Heavenbreaker. Whether it was Yi Xian, Blackhorn, or Luo Luo, they were all very strange. Now that another little monkey had appeared, they had to be more cautious. Go! Suddenly, an expert from the Wang family of the City Lord's mansion shouted in a low voice and immediately charged toward Yi Xian. The other 3 people heard him and immediately attacked. 4 4th-grade sacred spirits together were enough to contend with a 5th-grade sacred spirit. Unfortunately, Heavenbreaker's current strength was extraordinary. Heaven's startling 9 stick strikes. Heavenbreaker turned into a golden stream of light and instantly flashed to the side. Then he attacked with lightning speed. 9 stick shadows fell, and all of them hit a person's body. Bang! The Wang family expert who led the group was directly hit in the head and killed on the spot. Ding! The host's killing intent has increased. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Everyone was shocked. A monkey that wasn't even a great sage had killed a 4th-stage Holy Spirit in an instant. They must be dreaming. However, while they were still in shock, Heavenbreaker attacked again. Heaven's startling 9 stick strikes. Boom! Another stick strike, and another person died. At this time, only 2 of the 4 4th-grade sacred spirits were left. Retreat! The other 2 were scared half to death. They quickly turned around and tried to rush into the safe zone. However, Wei Zhentian's attack was too fast, and another person was killed. However, the last one escaped into the safe zone. This time, 3 4th-grade sacred spirits' bodies were a good harvest. There are quite a few Saint Beast corpses. Yi Xian grinned and glanced at the people in the safe zone. When the group of people saw Yi Xian looking at them like this, they immediately felt their hair stand on end. They suspected that Yi Xian should be the son of some powerful sacred beast from the Immortal Treasure Mountain. Otherwise, how could he be so sharp? Who are you? The remaining 4th-stage Saint Spirit couldn't help but ask. You don't need to know that, Yi Xian said as he walked towards the safe zone. Don't come any closer. There are 2 puppets in golden armor over there. Do you see them? Those are 7th-rank Holy Spirit puppets. You'll be killed as soon as you enter. The Wang family expert reminded Huang Xiaolong. As long as we don't fight in the safe zone, they won't attack me. Yi Xian smiled as he stepped into the safe zone. As expected, the 2 puppets did not attack. These 2 puppets were obtained by the City Lord of the Immortal Treasure City in a fortuitous encounter. They were extremely powerful. At that time, he had obtained a total of 5 puppets. 3 of them were in the City Lord Mansion, while the other 2 were in the Immortal Treasure Mountain. However, only the City Lord of the Immortal Treasure City could control them. Even the Wang family couldn't. That was why Yi Xian could enter the safe zone unharmed. Who are you? The Wang family expert couldn't help but ask. Cut the crap. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. Heavenbreaker had attacked just now, so he took him back into the plantation space to rest. During this time, he would first stay in the safe zone. The Wang family expert hurriedly notified the 5th-stage Saint Spirit of the City Lord Mansion. Not only that, but the others also did the same. Yi Xian's strange appearance in the Immortal Treasure Mountain meant that he was very likely to have some secrets on him. Therefore, everyone rushed to the safe zone. However, Yi Xian had the plantation space. Before he arrived, Heavenbreaker would definitely recover. What's more, Yi Xian was still in the safe zone. Heavenbreaker recovered quickly. When Yi Xian summoned him, the others in the safe zone couldn't help but shrink to the side. In fact, if Yi Xian had ordered Heavenbreaker to attack, the fourth stage Saint Spirit and the others probably wouldn't have been able to escape. After all, Yi Xian wanted Heavenbreaker to use a suicidal method to kill everyone. After all, Heavenbreaker was also a treasure with the ability to resurrect infinitely. However, Yi Xian didn't order Heavenbreaker to do that because many experts would arrive soon. As expected, a powerful aura descended in less than half a day. It was a fifth stage Saint Spirit. The first to arrive wasn't from the Wang family, but the Yi family.
Uncle, it should be him.
In the safe zone, a Yi family expert pointed at Yi Xian. During this time, the Yi family experts had fallen one after another. Yi Xian probably had something to do with it. After all, even a fourth stage Saint Spirit had died at Yi Xian's feet.
You're the one?
The Yi family's fifth grade Holy Spirit walked into the safe zone and asked Yi Xian. Unexpectedly, Yi Xian had no intention of answering his question. There were 2 golden armored puppets on each side of the safe zone. If the fifth stage Saint Spirit attacked, he would be attacked by 2 golden armored puppets. At that time, even a 6th stage Saint Spirit wouldn't be able to escape death, let alone a 5th stage Saint Spirit. However, after so many years, only a few people dared to attack in the safe zone. Once they did, the 2 golden armored puppets would chase them to the ends of the earth. When that time came, the safe zone would no longer be a safe zone. The 5th stage Saint Spirit was thinking that when the other 5th stage Saint Spirit arrived, they might be able to lure the 2 golden armored puppets away first. Then, the other person would capture Yi Xian. However, before the other person arrived, he didn't dare to do anything. Another half a day passed. The second 5th stage Saint Spirit to arrive was a member of the Lin family. Although the Yi family and the Lin family didn't have a good relationship, they could still work together in this situation. At most they could share the information. However, there was another problem. Luring the 2 golden armored puppets away was a very dangerous task. Who would be willing to do it? Therefore, they hesitated again. At this time, in the safe zone, Yi Xian looked at the 2 5th stage Saint Spirits and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. They were biding their time, but he was also biding his time. Finally, on the 3rd day after he entered the safe zone, the 5th stage Saint Spirits from the Wang family, the Yi family, and the Lin family all arrived. There were 2 from each family, so there were 6 of them in total. 6 5th stage Saint Spirits. Even a 6th stage Saint Spirit could defeat 6 of them. This kid might be carrying the secret of the Celestial Treasure Mountain. We must capture him. A Wang family expert said telepathically. But how do we deal with the 2 golden armored puppets? If no one trusts him, why don't we each send one person to lure the golden armored puppets away and leave one behind?
That's a good idea.
Chapter 1938. The 3 parties immediately came up with a plan. The 3 rank 5 sacred spirits, who were relatively faster, would lure the 2 golden armored puppets away. At this point, the 3 of them had already left the safe zone and were ready to act. Tisk. TSK.
Are they going to attack?
Yi Xian grinned. He too was already prepared. Attack! At this time, an expert from the Wang family shouted. In the next moment, the 3 people outside the safe zone all attacked Yi Xian. With their skills, there was no need to capture Yi Xian alive. They could just kill him. Whoosh! 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 3 bursts of sword chi attacked Yi Xian. When the 3 bursts of sword chi entered the safe zone, the 2 golden armored puppets finally moved. Fighting was not allowed in the safe zone. Even if they were outside the safe zone, as long as they entered the safe zone, it was still not allowed. The 2 golden armored puppets would analyze the sacred power and find the owner. Bang! Bang! The 2 golden armored puppets moved out and charged toward the 3 5th rank holy spirits. The 3 of them were already prepared for this, and they immediately started running. However, just as they turned around, they heard a muffled sound behind them. Boom! The other 3 people, as well as the others in the safe zone, were shocked. The 3 bursts of powerful sword chi were actually dispersed by the little monkey. How powerful! Since Patian was passively defending, the two golden armored puppets still attacked the three people after identifying them. In the blink of an eye, the two golden armored puppets were lured away. Attack! When the other three saw the two golden armored puppets leave, they immediately attacked Yi Xian.
Leave no one alive.
Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He released Blackhorn and Luo Luo. After a few days of cultivation, Blackhorn and Luo Luo's strength had improved. After all, they had obtained a large number of sacred beast corpses. As for Patian, he was one level higher than before. It was not difficult for him to block 3 rank 5 sacred spirits. Heaven's startling 9-rod strikes. Patian, who was wearing the mystic divine armor, attacked the 3 people violently. On the other side, Blackhorn and Luo Luo were killing the rest of the people. They had originally thought that Yi Xian would die when the 3 great families gathered. Little did they know that Yi Xian was also waiting for them to gather. That way, he could catch them all in one fell swoop, saving him the trouble of looking for them.
Rumble!
A series of loud noises rang out. However, one had to admit that the strength of these 3 5th-grade Holy Spirits was still relatively strong compared to the 4th-grade Holy Spirits from before. Previously, the 4 4th-stage Holy Spirits had been beaten to a pulp by Heavenbreaker, a 9th-stage saint. 3 had died and 1 had fled. Now that Heavenbreaker had broken through to the 1st-grade Great Saint realm, he was facing 3 5th-grade Saint Spirits, but he couldn't kill one of them in an instant. These 3 people were worthy of being the top experts of the 3 great clans. They still had some ability.
But so what?
Even when facing 3 people, Heavenbreaker still looked like he was handling a butcher's cleaver with ease. Every time he attacked, his opponents didn't dare to receive and could only dodge. As long as Blackhorn and Luo Luo finished off the other group of people and joined the battle with Heavenbreaker, these 3 people would definitely die. The 3 great clans are restraining each other. If only 2 people lured away the golden armored puppets, and 4 of them stayed behind to deal with Heavenbreaker, things wouldn't be so simple. Yi Xian thought to himself. However, what he thought came true. The 2 golden armored puppets were indeed lured away, but there were only 2 golden armored puppets, so one of them would be very relaxed. After the battle had progressed to a certain extent, the 3rd person who lured away the golden armored puppets actually turned back. This person was an expert from the Wang clan of the City Lord Manor of Immortal Treasure City. Although he couldn't control the 2 golden armored puppets, he had a way to stop them from chasing after him. That was why he could turn back. In short, he had tricked the Yi and Lin clans.
Come and help!
Another Wang clan expert hurriedly shouted. In an instant, the 5th-grade Holy Spirit who had turned back joined the battle. Now, it was 4 5th-grade Holy Spirits against Heavenbreaker, a 1st-grade Great Saint. Chapter 1939.
Ding!
Host's killing intent has increased. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Then, he saw Heavenbreaker return with 2 corpses. I didn't expect you to be here too, Yi Xian could not help but say after seeing the youth. I didn't expect you to be able to come in either. What method did you use? The youth asked. This is a piece of cake for me. But why did you do it? Yi Xian asked. Faced with this question, the youth paused for a moment, then said, At first, I thought you were just a person with high aptitude. But after seeing its strength just now, I realized that what you said was not empty talk. You mean to rescue the temple master of the Divine Monkey Palace?
Yi Xian asked.
That's right. The youth nodded and said, I'm Wei Jin. What about you? Yi Xian. Yi Xian answered. The fact that the other party could reveal his name meant that he had already received the other party's approval. After seeing your strength, I decided to help you rescue the temple master of the Divine Monkey Palace.
Wei Jin said.
Then do you know where he is sealed? Yi Xian asked curiously. If he wanted to rescue the temple master of the Divine Monkey Palace, then he had to know the location of the seal. But now, he had no clue at all and was still searching blindly. Of course. Wei Jin nodded and said, The foot of the mountain and the mountainside have been explored countless times by the people of the Immortal Treasure City. Although they can find new treasures every time, the location of the seal is definitely not here. So, it can only be at the peak or the center of the Immortal Treasure Mountain. When he said this, Yi Xian helplessly rolled his eyes. He could also guess this kind of thing. Was there a need to say it? However, under normal circumstances, even if you reach the peak, you probably won't be able to find the location of the seal, Wei Jin suddenly said.
Why?
Yi Xian asked in surprise. Under normal circumstances, it refers to the current situation, which is when the immortal treasure mountain is stable. As for the special circumstances, it refers to the remaining 11 months of chaos. According to my speculation, the seal will only appear at that time. As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Jin couldn't help but pause for a moment, and then he said, I've entered Immortal Treasure Mountain many times, and I've relied on the movement technique of my Devil Rat Palace to charge up to the peak of the mountain. At that time, I heard a terrifying roar. What's that sound? Yi Xian frowned. At that time when I heard that voice, my body involuntarily followed the sound. Fortunately, I woke up and hurriedly left the Immortal Treasure Mountain. I reckon that should be Shattered Heaven Palace's Palace Master's roar, used to summon those holy beasts. Wei Jin said. Why are you summoning the holy beasts? Yi Xian asked in confusion. I'm not sure either, so I feel that if we want to find the seal, we have to wait for at least half a month, when the entire Immortal Treasure Mountain is in chaos. Wei Jin shook his head. Then let's wait. Yi Xian nodded. Wei Jin said, but, during the chaos, those high-level Holy Spirit rank holy beasts occupying the mountainside will all be mobilized. At that time, the danger level will be at least 100 times higher than it is now. Don't worry, since I dared to stay, it means that I have confidence. After half a month, I can run amok in Immortal Treasure Mountain. Yi Xian smiled. After hearing this, Wei Jin was a little skeptical, but since he had decided to help Yi Xian, he couldn't leave. In that case, I want to see your ability. However, finding the seal is only the first step. Whether or not you can break the seal is the key. Wei Jin said. Just wait. Next, Yi Xian continued to find trouble with other people in Immortal Treasure Mountain. Almost all the experts from the 3 families who came this time were wiped out by Yi Xian. After all, the 6 5th grade holy spirits were all dead. So who could stop Shattered Heaven? No, Blackhorn couldn't even find an opponent now, let alone Shattered Heaven. However, after learning about this, the city lords of Immortal Treasure City, Yi Clan, and Lin Clan gathered to discuss countermeasures. Then, the city lord of Immortal Treasure City decided to reopen the formation of Immortal Treasure Mountain. This time, they didn't need a slot, so all of them could enter. The city lords of Immortal Treasure City, Lin Clan, and Yi Clan were all 6th grade holy spirits, so they were very powerful. This time, they brought almost all the experts from their clans because they had all received a message. 1. An imperial sacred artifact appeared in Immortal Treasure Mountain. Secondly, a saint with a monkey had appeared in the Immortal Treasure Mountain. This monkey had even killed a 5th grade saint spirit. Therefore they felt that this time was no small matter, so they sent out all their forces. However, what they didn't know was that Yi Xian was already waiting for them at the foot of the mountain. Soon, the 3 families entered Immortal Treasure Mountain. However, as soon as they set foot on Immortal Treasure Mountain, a loud noise came from both sides. What's that? Everyone turned around and saw that it was 2 golden armored puppets. How is this possible? The city lord of Immortal Treasure City was shocked. He was the one who sent these 2 golden armored puppets to Immortal Treasure Mountain. How did they appear at the foot of the mountain? Before he could react, the 2 golden armored puppets, which were comparable to 7th grade holy spirits, directly charged into their ranks. The 3 families' joint forces set off a bloody storm. However, this was not the point. The point was that after the golden armored puppets appeared, Yi Xian, who was waiting nearby, also made his move. Heaven startling 9 stick strikes. Patian immediately charged out and smashed his stick at a 6th grade holy spirit. Bam! This unlucky person was the Lin clan's clan leader. He was severely injured by a single stick strike, and with the help of a nearby golden armored puppet, he was instantly killed. A dignified 6th grade saint spirit had actually fallen. This was truly beyond everyone's expectations. Let's go! The city lord of Immortal Treasure City was decisive. After shouting in a low voice, he turned around and left. Unfortunately, his escape route was also blocked by someone. Demonic Shadow Hand. Wei Jin, who was carrying a king-grade sacred artifact, suddenly flashed behind the city lord of Immortal Treasure City. Then, he threw out a punch, which instantly split into thousands of fist shadows. Because this punch was so sudden, even the city lord of Immortal Treasure City could not tell which were real and which were fake. Bam! The city lord of Immortal Treasure City was hit by hundreds of punches and was sent flying. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wei Jin, Patian, and the two golden-armored puppets quickly took the lives of the three families' experts. In a short while, these living people were all turned into corpses. Now, there were only two people left. One was the city lord of Immortal Treasure City, and the other was the clan leader of Yi Clan. The two of them were back to back, and their faces were already very dark. The city lord of Immortal Treasure City could not help but ask, "How can you control my puppets? Is it very difficult?" Yi Xian slowly walked out. The two golden-armored puppets were not weak, but Potion's defense was amazing. Yi Xian used Patian to attract the puppets' attention, while using the Immortal Grade Devouring system to control them. Although it took a lot of time, he finally succeeded. Otherwise, he would not have been able to destroy the three families' team so easily today. Chapter 1940. After that, the city lord of the Immortal Treasure City and the patriarch of the Yi Clan didn't manage to hold on for much longer. In the end, they were still smashed to death by the Heaven Breaker staff. With the city lord dead, the city lord mansion of the Immortal Treasure City had become Yi Xian's property. However, now was not the time to go out. Rumble! Before the city lord's corpse could cool down, the entire Immortal Treasure Mountain suddenly shook violently. Then, countless sacred beasts began to riot. What's going on? There should be 10 more days. Why did it happen earlier? Wei Jin asked in confusion. No matter what, let's go back to the mountainside and take a look. Yi Xian put all the corpses into his planting space, then broke through the void and arrived at the safe zone. At this time, the sacred beasts were in a riot. Almost all of them were attacking from below. Yi Xian originally planned to look for the seal 10 days later, but now it had been brought forward. Heaven Breaker was only a 6th-grade sacred spirit. It was too dangerous for him to go up the mountain now. Should I go up and take a look? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Although he had the time reversal skill, it was very likely that he would trigger some kind of mission that prevented him from using it. If that was the case, it would not be good if something happened. Therefore, Yi Xian decided to wait for a while. It was better to return to the foot of the mountain first. The reason why he did not leave the Immortal Treasure Mountain directly was because he could hear the commotion here. However, during the riot, the Immortal Treasure Mountain was indeed terrifying. On the first day, all the sacred beasts returned from the mountain and began to wander around. Even the city lord of the Immortal Treasure City would probably only die once in the Immortal Treasure Mountain. Yi Xian waited at the foot of the mountain for 10 days. After 10 days, Heaven Breaker broke through to the 4th-grade Great Saint. His current strength was almost at the 8th-grade Sacred Spirit level. There were indeed many high-grade sacred spirits in the Immortal Treasure Mountain, but only a few had reached the 9th grade. Immediately, Yi Xian broke through the void again and returned to the safe zone. Then, he began to walk to the mountaintop. Along the way, he encountered many mid-grade sacred beasts. There were even 7th-grade sacred beasts. However, they were no longer a threat to Yi Xian. During this period of time, Yi Xian did not want to encounter 8th or 9th grade sacred beasts. Therefore, he left many void imprints on the way. When the time came, he could break through the void and avoid the sacred beasts. About 2 days later, he finally arrived at the peak of the mountain and saw the Rift Valley at the top of the mountain. Roar! Just then, a deafening sound reverberated in Yi Xian's ears. Actually, when he climbed up, he had also heard such a roar. At that time, Wei Jin was right beside him, but at that time, Wei Jin's body actually started to move involuntarily, so Yi Xian stored him in the planting space. Not only that, but this roar was also effective on Blackhorn and Luoluo but not him. Therefore, he guesses that this roar is aimed at holy beasts and Zuyoists. With these factors, Yi Xian was sure that this roar came from the Palace Master of the Divine Monkey Palace. Palace Master Patian, is that you? After arriving at the mountaintop, Yi Xian immediately shouted at the valley. Then the roar stopped. Who is it? A strange voice came from the valley. I am Yi Xian. I've come specially to find Senior. I want to see if I can help Senior out. Yi Xian continued shouting. However, there was no sound in the canyon after that. After a long time, a voice was heard. You can leave. You can't break this seal of mine. Let's not talk about the seal for now. But Junior has brought someone Senior must want to see. Yi Xian deliberately kept him in suspense. Patian should not be considered a person, but Yi Xian did not know how to describe him. Who is the person I want to see? Yi Xian glanced at Patian on his shoulder and said, he's the same as Senior.
He has the bloodline of the divine ape of heaven.
What? As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the canyon were shocked. Quick, bring him in. This impatient tone caused the corners of Yi Xian's mouth to slightly curl up. After that, he brought Heavenbreaker and Wei Jin into the canyon. The valley was very dark, but everyone could still see. However, there was nothing in the valley. Where did the sound come from? At this time, Yi Xian, who had the eye of revelation, suddenly saw a strange place. At the end of the valley was a stone wall, but this stone wall was a little strange. It emitted 4 different kinds of auras. Come, this seal blocks my perception. I can only see with my eyes. Come closer. A voice came from behind the stone wall. Yi Xian led Patian and Wei Jin closer. Finally, they saw a middle-aged ape in the stone wall. Little monkey. It's actually a little monkey. The middle-aged ape was very excited after seeing Patian. If not for the seal in front, he would have rushed out. Senior, you know it? Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Nonsense, I don't just know it. It's my youngest son. The middle-aged ape said, in that battle, my wife took him, who was still an infant, and fled. Although I am now isolated by the seal and can't sense the bloodline aura, I recognize its eyes. It can't be wrong. This answer shocked Yi Xian and the others. Yi Xian thought that Patian was only the descendant of the Divine Monkey Palace's palace master. He didn't expect that Patian was actually his son. It seemed that this time he was right. When I found Patian, we were in another space. Later, I happened to come to the Holy World. I didn't expect that he originally belonged here, Yi Xian said. Young man, thank you. I didn't expect that I would be able to see him again in this life. The middle-aged ape said and couldn't help but shed 2 lines of tears. He was indeed the Divine Monkey Palace's palace master Patian, but after being sealed for so many years, his strength kept falling and his lifespan was almost at its end. Ji. At this time, Patian suddenly jumped in front of the seal and put his hand on it. Child, this seal isn't so easy to break. This is the 4 gods' heaven sealing array. I ordered those saint beasts to continuously attack the array for countless years, but it didn't shake at all. Patian Palace Master shook his head. Senior, is there no other way? Yi Xian frowned and asked. This 4 gods' heaven sealing array is very terrifying. If it is forcibly broken, the array will explode. In my current state, I'm afraid I won't be able to survive. Patian Palace Master shook his head. Originally, Yi Xian wanted to wait for a while before forcibly breaking the array, but now it seemed that it was impossible. Chapter 1941. What kind of blood? Wei Jin asked curiously. The palace master glanced at him. You should be from the Demon Snake Palace. Do you know why my 12 god beast palaces suffered such a great calamity? I heard that we provoked a great power, and then both sides started a war. Wei Jin replied. Correct. The palace master nodded. That power is called the 4 god beast clan. It consists of the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise clans. That year, they took a fancy to the bloodlines of 3 of the 12 god beast palaces. 3 bloodlines? Which 3 palaces? Yi Xian frowned asking. The first is the Demon Dragon Palace, the second is the Demon Tiger Palace, and the third is the Divine Sparrow Palace. The palace master replied, the Azure Dragon Clan, White Tiger Clan, and Vermilion Bird Clan wanted to use the bloodlines of the 3 palaces to strengthen themselves, so that war broke out. Hearing this, Yi Xian and the other 2 were stunned. So it was like that. The Demon Dragon Palace's world-destroying Demon Dragon had a dragon bloodline. The Demon Tiger Palace's Netherworld Demon Tiger had a tiger bloodline. The Divine Sparrow Palace's 8 Desolate Divine Sparrow had a similar bloodline to the Vermilion Bird Clan. So these 3 palaces were targeted by the 4 god beast clan. Senior, I heard that the 12 god beast palaces were about as strong as the 4 god beast clan. Why were we destroyed? Wei Jin asked. There are 2 reasons. First, it was because our 12 god beast palaces were not united. The Demon Dragon Palace, Demon Tiger Palace, Demon Snake Palace, Demon Ox Palace, and your Demon Rat Palace had a bad relationship with our 7 palaces. So when we fought, we were defeated one by one. At that time, if our 12 god beast palaces had united, it would have been hard to say how to deal with them.
Yi Xian also knew this. Then the second reason? Wei Jin asked.
Second, it was because there was a traitor in our 12 god beast palaces who leaked our secrets, so we were defeated one by one. The palace master replied. Wei Jin was shocked. Traitor? Who? I'm not very clear, but I'm sure that someone leaked the information.
The palace master narrowed his eyes. If I find out, I won't let him off.
Senior, let's not talk about this for now. Yi Xian suddenly said, for now, let's remove the seal of this 4 gods heaven sealing formation. This 4 gods heaven sealing array is jointly created by the 4 experts of the 4 divine beasts clan. If you want to break it, you need the blood of the 4 divine beasts clan, and it has to be the blood of a direct descendant. Shattered Heaven Palace Master said. Then what of the 4 divine beasts clan? Yi Xian turned to look at Wei Jin. Previously, he had searched the souls of many people, but he did not seem to have heard of this power. Could it be that they had moved away? The 4 divine beasts clan captured all of the descendants of the 3 palaces and raised them, then used them to strengthen their own bloodlines. Their current level of power should be much greater than before. They don't dare to be interested in my bloodline, so they probably forgot about me. After Palace Master Shattered Heaven finished speaking, he looked at Wei Jin and asked, Little Rat, what is the situation with the 4 divine beasts clan? They moved away a long time ago. I don't know where they are now. Wei Jin shook his head. Good, tell me the result of that battle, Shattered Heaven Palace's Palace Master said. Hearing this, Wei Jin recalled for a moment, then replied, That year, Shattered Heaven Palace Master, you were the first to be sealed, then the other 6 Palace Masters all died in battle. In addition, there was also the Demon Tiger Palace Master and Demon Snake Palace Master. Then what about the Demon Dragon Palace, Demon Ox Palace, and your Demon Rat Palace? Shattered Heaven Palace Master asked. That year we fled together, but in the end, we were still ambushed, so we split up and fled. I don't know what happened after that. Wei Jin shook his head. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly remembered something, and hastily took out a floating image crystal from the devouring space. This floating image crystal was something Wei Zhentian had extracted from his memories. It was from the time in White Dragon Palace. At that time, the bull-horned middle-aged man had appeared and forcibly taken away the world-destroying ghost dragon, then told him about the 12 divine beasts' palace. This is the Demon Ox Palace's Palace Master Man Li. Shattered Heaven Palace Master's eyes lit up, saying, however, from what he said, he wanted to capture the world-destroying ghost dragon to undo the seal, but if he wanted to undo the seal of the 4 gods heaven sealing formation, shouldn't he need the blood of a direct descendant of the 4 divine beasts clan? Regarding this, Yi Xian and Wei Jin also didn't know. Facing this question, Shattered Heaven Palace Master thought for a moment, then understood. The Palace Lord of the Fiend Dragon Palace, He Yao, was the #1 expert of our 12 god beast palaces. Perhaps he wasn't sealed away by the 4 divine beasts clan, but rather chose to seal himself away and cut off his aura, which was why he was able to avoid being pursued. Shattered Heaven Palace Master said. Then, Senior, do you know where he is? Yi Xian hastily asked. I don't know, the 4 divine beasts clan's experts couldn't do anything to me, but in that battle, my yin and yang ring was shattered by them, otherwise I could have sent a message to them. Speaking of this, Shattered Heaven Palace Master was somewhat angry. That man Li, he knew I was sealed in the Immortal Treasure Mountain, but he didn't even come to take a look. But he said that as long as you could come out, you would be able to find him. Yi Xian suddenly said. Oh! Shattered Heaven Palace Master raised an eyebrow saying, if that's the case, then perhaps he should be at Demon Ox Mountain Range, where he was born. Finished speaking, he told Yi Xian the location of Demon Ox Mountain Range. Good. Junior will go find him when the time comes. At that time, Senior may be able to escape. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. AI, even if you find him, he probably won't help you. Shattered Heaven Palace Master shook his head, saying, let's not talk about this. Little monkey, in your inherited memories, there should be a heaven-startling staff technique, right? How many staff techniques have you practiced? Gigi. Heaven-startling 9 staff techniques. Shattered Heaven replied. Not bad. Your aptitude is much better than your father's. In the past, I only practiced the heaven-startling staff technique, that's all. Of course, this heaven-startling staff technique is not the main point. If you continue to practice, you may be able to master the Shattered Heaven-startling staff technique. Shattered Heaven Palace Master said. Shattered Heaven-startling staff technique. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. This thing sounded very awesome. Young man, I will teach little monkey now. You should also wait here. Shattered Heaven Palace Master said. Good. Yi Xian nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, a system notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Shattered Heaven Palace Master has begun to teach Shattered Heaven. Shattered Heaven will enter a learning state, temporarily breaking away from host's control. Hearing this, Yi Xian was startled. Fuck! Now even Shattered Heaven was out of his control. Although it was only temporary, Yi Xian's sense of security sharply decreased. Shattered Heaven was his current trump card. If it was out of his control, what would he do if he encountered danger? However, fortunately, this was the Immortal Treasure Mountain. Even if Shattered Heaven Palace Master was sealed, he could still command those Holy Spirit-grade holy beasts, so he should not encounter any danger. But, how long would this teaching process take? Chapter 1942. 10 days? Half a month? Or 1 year? For an expert of Shattered Heaven Palace Master's level, even 10,000 years was like a child's play. If this was the case, Yi Xian would probably cry to death. Fortunately, the progress of this guidance was related to Shattered Heaven's perception, and Yi Xian was confident in Shattered Heaven, so there should be no problem, right? For the next period of time, Yi Xian waited here, watching Shattered Heaven Palace Master guide Shattered Heaven. This wait lasted for half a month. Half a month later, Yi Xian had reached the 3rd grade Great Sage, and Heavenbreaker had successfully broken through to the 7th grade Great Sage. Now that the latter was wearing the Mystic God battle armor, he would probably be able to fight against a Saint King expert. At the same time, in this half a month, Shattered Heaven Palace Master guided Shattered Heaven Staff Art, allowing Shattered Heaven to practice the Heaven-Shocking 9 Staff Art to the Heaven-Shocking Single Staff Art, greatly increasing Shattered Heaven's attack power. I didn't expect your perception to be so good, really beyond my expectations. Shattered Heaven Palace Master nodded with satisfaction. Ji. At this time, Yi Xian stepped forward and said, Senior, shall we set off for Demon Ox Ridge? All right, with Little Monkey's current strength, you shouldn't have much of a problem. Shattered Heaven Palace Master nodded. Farewell. At this time, Yi Xian cupped his fists towards Shattered Heaven Palace Master, and then directly left. As for Wei Jin, he stayed here because Yi Xian wasn't looking for the Palace Master of the Demonic Snake Palace, but the Palace Master of the Demonic Bull Palace. Previously, Shattered Heaven Palace Master had told Yi Xian the location of the Immortal Treasure Mountain, so Yi Xian still had to hurry for a while. Of course, even without Shattered Heaven Palace Master's directions, Yi Xian could still find the ox-horned middle-aged man. After all, he had placed a death pursuit order on him. It took about 10 days to hurry, and after 10 days, Yi Xian entered Demon Ox Ridge. Right now, Patian is a 9th grade Great Saint. He's only a step away from becoming a Holy Spirit. His strength is already stronger than an ordinary Holy King. Yi Xian thought to himself. With such strength, he could already do whatever he wanted in Demon Ox Ridge. However, he didn't come this time to sweep through Demon Ox Ridge. Instead, he was looking for the bull-horned middle-aged man. At this moment, he saw the Scarlet Kill character not far in front of him. It was a mountain range, and the bull-horned middle-aged man was there. Back then, the bull-horned middle-aged man had forcefully taken away the world-annihilating ghostly dragon. After searching for Yi Xian for so long, he had finally found it. If he isn't as strong as Patian, then I'll have to give him a good beating to vent the hatred in my heart. Yi Xian thought to himself as he entered the mountain range. At this time, in the middle of the mountain range, there was a bullhorn mountain. The bull-horned middle-aged man whom Yi Xian had met once before was hiding here. Very soon, Yi Xian came looking for him. On Oxhorn Mountain, the bull-horned middle-aged man suddenly opened his eyes. Shortly after, he sensed a weak aura approaching. He narrowed his eyes and looked slightly surprised. I can't believe you actually found this place. The bull-horned middle-aged man looked at Yi Xian and could not help but exclaim. Where are the ribs? Yi Xian asked without hesitation. You, go in and see for yourself. The bull-horned middle-aged man did not answer the question. Instead, He turned his head and looked at a huge cave behind him. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but frown and quickly walked in. After a while, he saw the huge body of the world-annihilating ghostly dragon at the end of the cave. He finally found it. As long as he signed a contract with the world-annihilating ghostly dragon, he would be able to complete the random mission. At that time, Yi Xian would be able to merge with the world-annihilating ghostly dragon again. However, at this moment, the sleeping world-annihilating ghostly dragon suddenly opened its eyes and said, "Who are you?" Yi Xian was shocked when he heard this. The world-annihilating ghostly dragon could actually speak? This was not the main point. The main point was, why did he not recognize Yi Xian? "You don't recognize me?" Yi Xian widened his eyes in shock. Coincidentally, the bull-horned middle-aged man walked in and sent a voice transmission to the world-annihilating ghostly dragon. "It's you." The world-annihilating ghostly dragon suddenly got up and transformed into a dark-skinned man. "I have already taken over the body of the world-annihilating ghostly dragon. I have to thank you," the dark-skinned man said. "What?" This sentence caught Yi Xian off guard. The world-annihilating ghostly dragon's body was taken over by him. "Who is this guy?" "Let me introduce myself. I am He Yao, the strongest person in the 12 mythical beast palaces," the dark-skinned man said. "He Yao." Yi Xian immediately reacted when he heard this name. Isn't he the palace master of the demonic dragon palace in the 12 mythical beast palaces? Bastard! Yi Xian cursed and immediately gave the order to Heavenbreaker, who was on his shoulder. "Kill! How dare you take over the body of the world-annihilating ghostly dragon? You're courting death." In an instant, Heavenbreaker's aura surged and he raised his staff at the dark-skinned man. A shocking staff strike. Oh! The palace master of Heavenbreaker's shocking staff technique? He Yao was a little surprised, but he did not move. At this time, although he was not even a holy king, he was not afraid of Heavenbreaker. This was because there was another person beside him. Pang! Heavenbreaker's staff was quickly blocked by the bull-horned middle-aged man who stood in front of He Yao. This bull-horned middle-aged man was not sealed back then and was only seriously injured. Now that he had recovered to the level of a middle holy king, it was not a problem for him to block Heavenbreaker's staff. "Not bad." The bull-horned middle-aged man raised his eyebrows. After praising, he actually raised his hand to counterattack. In an instant, he and Heavenbreaker exchanged blows. Heavenbreaker's current strength was equivalent to a 4th-rank holy king, while the bull-horned middle-aged man was a 5th-rank holy king. In addition, he was the palace master of the demonic bull palace of the 12 mythical beast palaces. His strength was not that simple. However, Heavenbreaker's mission was only to delay the bull-horned middle-aged man. "He Yao, Luo Luo, catch him!" Yi Xian shouted angrily. During this time, He Yao and Luo Luo did not fall behind. Although they were not as strong as Heavenbreaker, it was not a problem for them to deal with a 9th-rank holy spirit like He Yao. He Yao obviously did not expect these two people to suddenly appear and hurriedly retreated. However, he was easily caught by He Yao and Luo Luo. At the same time, the palace master of the demonic bull palace, Man Li, also stopped and looked at Yi Xian. He Yao escaped from death and had no choice but to seal himself. "In order to save him, I had to use this method," Man Li said. "So you can sacrifice others?" Yi Xian said with narrowed eyes. "Your black dragon is not dead. After all, I have occupied its body. Although I can't return it, I made it into a dragon fetus." He Yao said and suddenly spat out a black ball that was only the size of a fist. "Dragon fetus? What is that?" Yi Xian looked at the ball and could not help but ask. Chapter 1943. You can think of it as being beaten back to its original form. If you can find a compatible dragon corpse in the future, you can use this dragon fetus to revive it. Dark Light replied. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but scoff. "Why don't I just kill you and use the dragon fetus to revive it? That way, the compatibility will be 100%. Dark Light shuddered when he heard this. He hurriedly said, "It's my descendant. That's why my body is more than 100% compatible with it. If you kill me and inject the dragon fetus into my body, you'll be digging your own grave." Yi Xian was silent. Dark Light was the ancestor of the World Devastator Demon Dragon. The World Devastator Demon Dragon had evolved after obtaining the scales of the World Devastator Demon Dragon. Therefore, dark light's compatibility with it might be higher. Even if it was not higher, it would be troublesome if it was 100% compatible. If dark light died, Yi Xian would inject the dragon fetus into the body of the world devastator demon dragon. The two would definitely fight and dark light would devour Rib Goo's dragon fetus. Then it would be a corpse with 2 lives. However, Yi Xian wanted to give it a try. After all, he had the time reversal skill. However, at this moment, ding! The random quest has been changed. Use the dragon fetus to revive the world devastator demon dragon. The quest reward is that the revived world devastator demon dragon has a 50% chance of mutating. A system notification suddenly rang. Yi Xian, who originally wanted to directly attack and kill He Yao, suddenly stopped. The random quest had been changed. This was the first time it had happened. Perhaps it was because his speed was too slow that this was the case. Humph, I'll spare your life for now. You better cherish this body of yours. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Yi Xian said solemnly. Young man, you sure have a big mouth. Those who used to talk to me like that are all dead. Dark Light snorted. Since it was in the past, why bring it up again? All I know is that the current me can easily crush you to death. Yi Xian replied. Although the palace master of the Demon Bull Palace was strong, Patian could hold him back. When the time came, Blackhorn and Luo Luo could kill Dark Light. Humph! Dark Light was rendered speechless. He was indeed not at his peak. He was not even 1/10,000th of his peak. At that moment, Yi Xian took back Heaven Breaker and put away the ribs. The dragon fetus was placed in the planting space. If he wanted to, he could find a dragon corpse now, but whether the compatibility was high or not was another matter. Moreover, since ribs had become like this, Yi Xian would naturally have to find a bloodline that was of a higher level than the apocalyptic demon dragon. That way, ribs would be even more powerful with the random quest rewards. This time, it could not be considered a scam. Instead, it was a fortuitous encounter. It was also because of this that Yi Xian chose to spare Dark Light. Otherwise, the latter would have died long ago. You've already been to the Immortal Treasure Mountain and seen that old monkey, right? Brute Force suddenly asked. Not bad. Yi Xian nodded. Sealing him is the 4 gods' heaven seal formation of the 4 divine beasts clan. In order to undo the seal, one needs the blood of a direct descendant of the 4 divine beasts clan. Brute Force said. You have news of the 4 divine beasts clan? Yi Xian frowned and asked. Back then, because I had no use for the 4 divine beasts clan, I narrowly escaped death. I only recently recovered from my injuries. However, during this period of time, I haven't been idle. I've been diverting my attention to investigate the 4 divine beasts clan. Brute Force paused and said, the 4 divine beasts clan that destroyed my 12 divine beasts palaces has already moved away. However, they still left a branch behind. This branch is located in the distant north, in the 4 divine valleys. However, I used these years to build a teleportation array that can reach nearby. If you want to go, I can send you there. That day, he had forcibly taken away the apocalyptic demon dragon and then sacrificed it to Dark Light. Thus, he felt that he owed Yi Xian and told Yi Xian this information. The 4 divine valleys? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Heaven Breaker was the son of Palace Master Shattered Heaven, and the latter had been sealed by the 4 gods' heaven seal formation. Thus, Yi Xian naturally had to rescue him. Thus, he had to go to the 4 divine valleys. However, the 4 divine beasts clan has strengthened their bloodline and is much stronger than before. They might even have Saint Monarch level experts. I'm afraid your strength is not enough. Brute Force said. Saint Monarch. Yi Xian muttered in his heart and said, then you don't have to worry about it. Tell me the location of the teleportation array and we'll call it quits. You overestimate yourself. Brute Force thought in his heart and then directly told Yi Xian the location of the teleportation array. However, at this moment, Brute Force suddenly raised his eyebrows as if he had sensed something. Old Bull, what's wrong? Dark Light saw Brute Force and couldn't help but ask. There are several auras approaching. Middle-level Saint Kings. Brute Force said. This is your territory. Why would there be middle-level Saint Kings approaching? Dark Light asked in confusion. I'm not sure. I'll go out and take a look. Brute Force said and directly left, heading towards the auras. Yi Xian and Dark Light quickly followed, but their speed was definitely not as fast as brute force. Brute force instantly left them behind.
Rumble.
Suddenly, the sound of battle came from afar. This made Yi Xian a little surprised. In the Demon Ox Ridge, at most there were low-level Saint Kings. How could there be several middle-level Saint Kings? Chapter 1944. However, with Heavenbreaker's participation in the battle, the situation changed. Moreover, Yi Xian still had a trump card. He quickly sent a voice transmission to Man Li. Then, they found an opportunity to attack. Myriad Beasts Diagram, suppress. After receiving Yi Xian's order, the mystic divine armor on Heavenbreaker quickly transformed into the Myriad Beasts Diagram. In an instant, the 4 youths of the 4 Divine Beasts clan and Man Li all lost 70% of their combat strength. However, Man Li had expected this, so he immediately returned to his human form.
Soaring Demonic Bull.
In human form, Man Li punched the white tiger, causing its body to explode. It instantly died. The 4 Divine Beasts clan specialized in joint attacks. Now that their strongest attacker, the white tiger, had died, the strength they could unleash instantly decreased. That was not the point. The point was that now that one of them had died, the remaining 3 were no longer a threat.
Let's go.
The green heavenly dragon roared and quickly turned around to leave. Unfortunately, they did not know why their strength had decreased. After all, who had the time to think about that in such a critical moment? In the next moment, they were caught by Man Li. Then, even the black tortoise with the strongest defense was smashed to death by Man Li. Of the 4 divine beasts, only 2 were left. Hurry up and transform into human form. The long-haired youth hurriedly sent a voice transmission to another person. At this moment, he finally reacted. At first, Man Li had also decreased his strength. However, after transforming into human form, there was no such restriction. Unfortunately, it was already too late.
Soaring Demonic Bull.
As soon as he sent the voice transmission, Man Li punched out and directly blew his body apart. When he transformed into human form, only half of his body was left.
Bastard!
The last youth of the Vermilion Bird clan cursed angrily. He quickly took out a transmission token, wanting to report this matter. However, at this moment, Heavenbreaker suddenly rushed over and smashed down with his staff.
Bang!
This staff did not hit the opponent's body. Instead, it knocked the transmission token out of his hand. Then, brute force rushed over and threw another punch. The youth of the Vermilion Bird clan had already transformed into human form. He used his extremely strong flames to weaken this punch and then took it head-on. However, Wei Zhentian had already transformed into the mystic divine armor again. He put it on Heavenbreaker.
Heaven Startling Strike.
The staff landed on the young man's head and instantly exploded his body. All 4 of them had fallen. Although it was the first time, Heavenbreaker and brute force worked well together. Of course, Wei Zhentian was the main contributor. Without it, brute force would not have been able to kill the 2 of them so easily. After these 4 people died, Yi Xian quickly swept over and unceremoniously collected their corpses. Soul Search. Damn. These 4 aren't direct descendants of the 4 Divine Beasts clan. Yi Xian cursed angrily. If these 4 people were his direct descendants, then Shattered Heaven Palace's Palace Master could undo the seal and come out. Brute force was very surprised. Yi Xian was only in the Great Sage realm, but he was able to search the souls of the 4 corpses so quickly. Even he was not as good as him. These 4 people should be from that branch of the 4 Divine Valleys. They came here following the World Extermination Aura. Brute force said. When Dark Light sacrificed himself, he released a powerful World Extermination Aura, which attracted the 4 Divine Beasts clan. Although countless years had passed, the 4 Divine Beasts clan still wanted to capture Dark Light. After all, Dark Light was the palace master of the Demon Dragon Palace, the ancestor of the world-exterminating demon dragons. Using his bloodline to strengthen the Azure Dragon clan's bloodline was the best. At this time, ding, the host has obtained a dragon crystal. It can be used to nurture a dragon embryo. Do you wish to begin? Hearing this, Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. Could the dragon crystal have been taken from the Azure Dragon clan youth's body?
Yes.
Immediately, he replied in his mind. He did not expect the dragon crystal to be able to nurture a dragon embryo. This meant that if he could find a suitable dragon embryo in the future, the compatibility would be higher and it would be easier to mutate. Since that was the case, then the Azure Dragon clan was doomed. There's no time to lose. I will take my leave. After Yi Xian finished speaking, he directly left. The branch of the Four Divine Beasts clan had most likely begun to move. Therefore, they could not stay in the Demon Ox Ridge any longer. Man Li and Dark Light had to find another place to hide. After Yi Xian left, they quickly left the Demon Ox Ridge. At this time, Yi Xian was heading towards the long-distance teleportation array that Man Li had built. This teleportation array could directly teleport him to the Four Divine Valleys, saving him a lot of time. Several days later. Ding! The host has broken through. Currently at the 6th grade. Great Sage. Ding! Infernal Ghostly Lord, Wei Zhentian, and Sky-Breaking Ape God have broken through. Currently at the 1st grade Sacred Spirit Realm. The Sky-Breaking Ape God had finally broken through to the Sacred Spirit Realm. Its strength was much stronger than before. Not long after Yi Xian and the others broke through, he finally arrived at the teleportation array that Man Li had built. Hua! The teleportation array began to operate. After a while, Yi Xian arrived at his destination. He turned his head and found that he was very far away from the teleportation array. If he had to travel by himself, he did not know how long it would take him to arrive. The Four Divine Valleys is north of this teleportation array. The Four Divine Beasts clan does not recognize me at all. This will make things easier for me. Yi Xian thought to himself as he continued on his journey. After about 2 days, he finally arrived at the Four Divine Valleys. The Four Divine Beasts clan of the Four Divine Valleys was a branch. However, there were many strong cultivators within. According to Man Li, the strongest was a 7th grade Sacred King. This level of strength was not something that Patian could deal with now. However, Yi Xian did not intend to kill his way in. He wanted to take it slow. A group of people is coming out. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly focused his eyes and saw a group of people. The Four Divine Beasts clan. Generally speaking, the 4 clans would travel in groups of 4 or 8. This was much safer. At this time, the group that left the Four Divine Valleys was the same as before. They were all 4th grade Sacred Kings. Coincidentally, they had become Yi Xian's target. This group of people did not know where they were going. In any case, Yi Xian was following behind them. When they passed by, Yi Xian asked Patian to take action. Patian, who was wearing the Mystic Divine battle armor, ran wildly on the ground towards the 4 people. There's a strange little monkey. One of the people in the group noticed Patian. However, because Patian was only a 1st grade Sacred Spirit, he did not take him seriously. How much attack power could such a small thing have? The 4 of them were 4th grade Sacred Kings. Even if they stood there without moving, no ordinary person could break through their defense. Even a 2nd grade Sacred King could not, let alone a 1st grade Sacred Spirit like Patian. However, they were wrong. When Patian got close, he suddenly took out his weapon and smashed it towards the leader of the group. A shocking strike of the staff. This strike instantly killed the leader of the group. Instant kill. Chapter 1945. The other 3 stared blankly at their comrade, who had been smashed into minced meat. Before they could react, Heaven Splitter's 2nd strike had already landed. Boom! Another one had fallen. Only the Black Tortoise and White Tiger clansmen were left standing. When they saw the other 2 die, they quickly reverted to their true forms. Careful! At this moment, the Black Tortoise expert quickly moved in front of the other, just as Heaven Splitter's strike landed, smashing into the Black Tortoise expert's shell. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. The Black Tortoise's shell had actually been shattered, and his body had been heavily injured. The White Tiger expert was stunned. The Black Tortoise was renowned for its defensive abilities. How could it have been smashed to death with a single strike? Moreover, it had been smashed to death by a 1st-rank Sacred Spirit monkey. This was too unreal. Of the 4, 3 had died at lightning speed. Although the remaining White Tiger expert was the strongest of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, he wasn't as strong as Heaven Splitter. Soon, the 4th died as well, also smashed to death by Heaven Splitter's strike. No matter who it was, Heaven Splitter was able to finish them off with a single strike. This level of power was enough to cause Yi Xian's heart to palpitate.
Beautifully done.
After the four died, Yi Xian quickly tore through the air and collected their corpses into his planting space, then began to soul-search them. Unfortunately, these four weren't direct descendants either. There's actually no direct descendant in this branch of the Four Divine Beasts clan in the Four Divine Valleys. Yi Xian was somewhat disappointed, but it made sense. Direct descendants were usually in the main clan. Why would they be in a branch clan? However, that didn't matter. Yi Xian's current goal was the Dragon Crystal. In the following period of time, Yi Xian waited outside the Four Divine Valleys, attacking anyone he found to be easy to bully. Although the Four Divine Beasts clan was a branch clan, there were still quite a few of them. However, the deaths of such a large number of clan members would definitely attract the attention of the higher-ups. A few days later, the Four Divine Valleys began to set up defenses. This was because those who had died had only just left the Four Divine Valleys. However, this measure was of no use against Yi Xian. Instead, it was exactly what Yi Xian wanted. By now, Heavenbreaker had already broken through to the second rank of the Sacred Spirit Realm. Given his current level of power, it wouldn't be a problem for him to directly attack the Four Divine Beasts clan. The people who set up these defenses are at least 5th rank Holy Kings, and some are even 6th rank Holy Kings. The Saint Kings are patrolling, but so what? Yi Xian thought to himself as he ordered Heavenbreaker to continue moving. Just think about it. For an existence like the Four Divine Beasts clan, if they were to encounter a low-level Saint Beast, would they be on guard? No. Therefore, these people became Yi Xian's targets. Hey, there's also a little monkey. Your daughter has been clamoring for a pet recently, so this is it? A 5th-grade Holy King thought to himself, but in the next moment, his smile froze. He saw a huge shadow of a rod descend, and he could only watch helplessly as the shadow of the rod smashed into his head. Pucci! The 5th-rank Holy King's head exploded along with his body. Death! After this person died, Yi Xian quickly rushed over and collected the corpse. It was another dragon crystal, and it was a 5th-stage Saint King crystal. This could make Rib Goo's dragon fetus even stronger. Rib Goo's dragon fetus has actually reached 10%. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly discovered this change. Only when the dragon fetus reached 100% could it be injected into the dragon corpse. If it could reach 200%, then there would be a 50% chance of mutation. The higher the dragon fetus, the harder it was to increase the dragon fetus. Yi Xian did not know if he could increase it to 200% even if he destroyed the Four Divine Beasts clan. However, as long as it reached 200%, then after Ribgu was revived, there would be a 50% chance of mutation. In addition to the 50% chance given by the random mission, it would be a 100% chance of mutation. Therefore, even if the Azure Wind Dragon clan's dragon fetus did not reach 200% after they were destroyed, Yi Xian still had to continue and strive to maximize the dragon fetus. Speaking of which, this time, the Four Divine Beasts clan did not send many 5th-rank Holy Kings, only 4. Now that this 5th-rank Holy King was dead, the Four Divine Beasts clan would definitely notice, so Heavenbreaker had to act as soon as possible. However, no matter how fast Heavenbreaker was, he could not be faster than the transmission token. After Heavenbreaker killed the second 5th-rank Holy King, the other two met up. However, this did not affect anything, as Heavenbreaker could still kill 2 5th-rank Holy Kings by himself. After another great battle, the 4 5th-rank Holy Kings sent by the Four Divine Beasts clan were all dead. As for the 6th-rank Holy King, because Yi Xian had issued a death hunt order, he did not see any trace of Heavenbreaker at all. At this moment, the Four Divine Valleys was in an uproar. There were 4 Valley Masters in the Four Divine Valleys, and they were the clan masters of the 4 major clans. Moreover, they were all 7th-rank Holy Kings. Now that 4 5th-rank Holy Kings had died, it was enough to make them take this seriously. After all, each clan only had about 10 5th-rank Holy Kings. Therefore, they decided to send more people to patrol, and must find the murderer who killed their clansmen. However, this time, Yi Xian had learned his lesson. For the sake of convenience, he waited outside for a few more days. They waited until Heavenbreaker broke through to the 3rd-rank Holy Spirit before they made their move. After Heavenbreaker broke through, even a 6th-rank Holy King would be smashed to death by his staff. However, he still did not charge into the Four Divine Beasts clan, and instead killed the experts patrolling outside. The Four Divine Beasts clan had sent people to be very cautious. Originally, the 5th-rank Holy Kings were patrolling alone, but now the 4 major clans had joined forces and formed teams of 5th-rank Holy Kings. This way, even if they encountered a 6th-rank Holy King, they would not be afraid. Unfortunately, this was still useless against Yi Xian. Heavenbreaker used his small body and his 3rd-rank Holy Spirit realm to quietly approach those teams, and then suddenly attack, quickly killing them. In addition to Yi Xian's death hunt order, he could skillfully avoid the 6th-rank Holy Spirits. In less than a day, the 4 Divine Beasts clan had suffered heavy losses, and a total of 25th-rank Holy Kings had died. Each clan had lost 5 Holy Kings. As a result, the 4 clan masters of the 4 Divine Beasts clan finally could not help but make their move. However, Yi Xian went into hiding again, and prepared to make his move after a period of time. Order all disciples not to go out. After a few more days, Heavenbreaker had already grown to the 4th-rank Holy Spirit realm. Now, he already had the strength to destroy this 4 Divine Beasts clan's branch. Thus, this time, Yi Xian decided to directly kill his way into the 4 Divine Valleys. Before this, he had already made preparations, and that was to use the soul-absorbing bell to control a disciple of the 4 Divine Beasts clan. To be more precise, it was a 4th-rank Holy King of the Azure Wind Dragon clan. At this time, this 4th-rank Holy King brought Heavenbreaker into the 4 Divine Valleys. Heavenbreaker, act according to plan. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. When Heavenbreaker arrived at the Wind Dragon Valley, Yi Xian directly gave him the order. Some readers have mentioned that the planted space sounds bad, so here's a reminder. From now on, the planted space will be changed to devouring space, devouring space, devouring space. Chapter 1946. At this moment, the 4th-rank Holy King was leading Heavenbreaker toward the residence of the Green Dragon tribe leader. If he could kill the leader instantly, then things would be much easier. By then, even if the other 3 tribe leaders joined forces, they would not be able to do anything to Heavenbreaker. Soon, the 4th-rank Holy King and Heavenbreaker arrived near the residence of the Green Dragon tribe leader. Next, the 4th-rank Holy King could not get close and could only let Heavenbreaker move by himself. Hey, what a cute little monkey! Who tamed it? It wants to go in, let it go. Seeing that Heavenbreaker was only a holy spirit, the people of the Green Dragon tribe did not pay much attention to him. After all, even the young people of the Green Dragon tribe were higher than Heavenbreaker, who was a 4th-rank Holy Spirit. In the end, Heavenbreaker successfully arrived at the residence of the Green Dragon tribe leader. Today, the Green Dragon tribe leader had just returned from his patrol and was resting. He sensed Heavenbreaker's aura, but the latter's cultivation was too low, so he did not pay much attention to it. However, in the next moment, there was a gust of wind. After receiving Yi Xian's order, Wei Zhentian, who had turned into a thin needle, turned back into the mystic divine armor. After putting on the mystic divine armor, Heavenbreaker's physique was greatly improved, and he aimed at the Green Dragon tribe leader and struck with his staff. Whoosh! Whoosh! The wind howled. The Green Dragon tribe leader widened his eyes, and just as he reacted, the huge shadow of the staff came crashing down on him. Boom! The Green Dragon tribe leader was hit, and he was instantly on the verge of death. Although he was a 7th-rank Holy King, he was powerless against Heavenbreaker's sneak attack. Taking advantage of the Green Dragon tribe leader's injury, Heavenbreaker struck again, and this strike took away the Green Dragon tribe leader's life. Well done! Seeing this, Yi Xian quickly broke through the void and put away the Green Dragon tribe leader's body. Then, Heavenbreaker struck again, and this time, his target was the 2 6th-rank Holy Kings in the Green Dragon tribe. At this moment, the people in the Wind Dragon Valley did not know what was going on, and they only heard the rumbling sounds. Before the other tribe members could react, most of the higher-ups of the Green Dragon tribe were dead. After Heavenbreaker killed the 2 6th-rank Holy Kings, he killed the remaining few 5th-rank Holy Kings. Then the show began. Stage. Black Horn, devour. Yi Xian immediately released Black Horn. The latter was in his original form the moment he appeared. He opened his mouth and a strange energy enveloped the surroundings. Swallow. In the next moment, the area around Black Horn was directly devoured by him and appeared in the devouring space. This was not the end. Now that the Green Wind Dragon tribe had no one to hold the fort, Black Horn alone could take care of them all. Before the other 3 clans could react, The Wind Dragon clan in the Wind Dragon Valley were all devoured by the Black Horn. Not a single one was left. Although the Azure Wind Dragon tribe was only a branch, there were still many of them. Now that they had all been swallowed into the devouring space, they had become Yi Xian's prisoners. Of course, Yi Xian was not so cruel as to kill so many people. He was only forcefully extracting the dragon crystals from these wind azure dragons to nurture the dragon fetus. At this moment, the dragon embryo nurturing degree of ribs had already exceeded 50%. Another half and it would be reborn. Tisk. TSK. TSK. The other 3 clans have finally appeared. After a while, Yi Xian looked at the group of figures in the sky and smiled to himself. Coincidentally, Heavenbreaker was also done resting and could fight again. How is this possible? The Wind Dragon Valley has become a wasteland. Not even a blade of grass is growing. What's going on? Where did they go? Someone just sent me a message saying that a huge black dragon was above the Wind Dragon Valley and had swallowed everyone. The other 3 clans were shocked. At this moment, they happened to see Yi Xian in the wasteland and immediately rushed over. Kid, who are you? A red-haired elder asked. So it's the leader of the Vermilion Bird tribe. It's an honor to meet you, Yi Xian said with a smile. You know me? The red-haired elder frowned. How can I not know you? Because I'm going to kill you. Yi Xian smiled and said, Go! In an instant, Heavenbreaker, who was wearing the mystic divine armor, was summoned out of the devouring space by Yi Xian and directly appeared in front of the red-haired elder. Heaven's startling strike. Heavenbreaker raised his hand and struck, directly smashing into the red-haired elder's face and instantly smashing his head. The vital point of an immortal was the immortal heart. However, after breaking through to the Saint Realm, the head and heart became vital points. This strike directly hit. Then, the red-haired elder was instantly killed. There were 4 7th-rank Saint Kings in the 4 divine valleys. Just now, one had died, and now another had died, so there were only 2 left. The leaders of the White Tiger tribe and the Black Tortoise tribe were left. One had the strongest attack, while the other had the strongest defense. However, in front of Heavenbreaker, they were all the same. Heaven's startling strike. Heavenbreaker attacked again. However, this time, he didn't smash from top to bottom. Instead, he swept across. A shadow of a strike swept through the crowd and directly blew up their bodies. Countless corpses fell from the sky. In addition, Black Horn had unknowingly appeared at the side. He opened his mouth and swallowed the frightened disciples of the 4 divine beasts clan. In the blink of an eye, nearly half of the people from the other 3 clans had died. What powerful strength! Quickly transform into your true form. The leader of the Black Tortoise tribe shouted angrily and transformed into his true form. He joined forces with the others and formed a defensive formation. Defensive formation? Will it work? Yi Xian sneered. Heavenbreaker attacked again. Bang! The first strike landed. Although the defensive formation wasn't broken, it was more or less broken. Heaven's startling strike. When the second strike landed on the defensive formation, it immediately collapsed. At the same time, the Black Tortoise tribe experts who had used their saint power to form the defensive formation all suffered a backlash. The leader of the Black Tortoise tribe was at the center of the defensive formation. After the formation was broken, his injuries were the most serious. His true form opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Don't be presumptuous! An explosive shout rang out from the side. All the White Tiger tribe experts who had transformed into their true forms charged towards Heavenbreaker. Although they couldn't form the 4 divine battle formation, the White Tiger tribe's attack power was not to be underestimated. They instantly surrounded Heavenbreaker. However, the next scene made them extremely shocked. White Tiger Skysplitter Claw. The White Tiger tribe patriarch clawed viciously at Heavenbreaker. But to his surprise, this claw attack wasn't able to injure Heavenbreaker at all. How can his defense be so powerful? The White Tiger tribe patriarch was extremely shocked. It must be understood that this claw attack of his was powerful enough to leave a mark on the shell of the Black Tortoise tribe experts. And yet, it was unable to injure this saint-level little monkey. Where did this little thing come from? Just as he was feeling astonished, Heavenbreaker attacked again. Chapter 1947. Heaven's startling stick strike. Heavenbreaker attacked again, hitting the White Tiger patriarch. However, the ladder was already prepared, so he was not killed in one hit. On the other side, Black Horn swallowed another group of people. At this moment, the White Tiger Patriarch was seriously injured. Even if he was not seriously injured, he could not break through Heavenbreaker's defense. There was no suspense at all in this battle. Catch that brat. However, the chief of the White Tiger tribe still felt that something was amiss, so he quickly said, "Catch me? Too naive." Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and quickly entered the void door, disappearing from everyone's sight. Next, as Yi Xian expected, Heavenbreaker killed all the experts of the Black Tortoise clan and White Tiger clan, and the rest were swallowed by Black Horn. Now, the 4 Divine Beasts clan was gathered in the devouring space. After the matter was over, Yi Xian once again broke through the void and returned. However, for him, the Vermilion Bird clan, White Tiger clan, and Black Tortoise clan were useless. Only the Azure Dragon clan's dragon crystal could be used to nurture a dragon fetus. However, at this moment, boom! Suddenly, 3 powerful auras appeared above Yi Xian's head. Yi Xian looked up and found that it was 4 middle-aged men. So strong, they are even stronger than the 4 clan patriarchs. They are at least 8th grade Holy Kings, maybe even 9th grade Holy Kings. Yi Xian was shocked. However, the most shocking thing was yet to come. Behind the 4 middle-aged men, there was a middle-aged man with golden hair. When Yi Xian saw the other person's face, he found that it was the Palace Master of Shattered Heaven Palace who was sealed in the Celestial Treasure Mountain. What happened? This branch was destroyed. What happened? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. Before he could figure it out, the Palace Master of Shattered Heaven Palace said, "Quickly leave, they are from the 4 Divine Beasts clan." When the words came out, Yi Xian was shocked. Why would the Black Tortoise clan come here? The Black Tortoise clan caught one of my descendants and found that it could strengthen their bloodline, so they thought of me. "Quickly leave, don't let them find the little monkey," Shattered Sky Palace's Palace Master said. Hearing this, Yi Xian began to understand. In the past, the 4 Divine Beasts clan had set their sights on the 12 God Beast Palaces, resulting in a great war. To be more precise, they were targeting the Demonic Dragon Palace, Demonic Tiger Palace, and Divine Sparrow Palace of the 12 Divine Beast Palaces. These 3 bloodlines could be used to strengthen the Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, and White Tiger bloodlines. Then, the Black Tortoise clan suddenly discovered that the heaven-breaking Divine Ape bloodline could also strengthen their Black Tortoise bloodline, so they thought of the Shattered Heaven Palace Master they had previously overlooked. Whether it was the Black Tortoise or the heaven-breaking Divine Ape bloodline, they both had strong defensive abilities, so it was just nice. The bloodline aura in that little monkey's body seems to be the same as the old monkey behind me. It should also be the bloodline of the heaven-breaking Divine Ape. The leader of the group, a middle-aged man, thought to himself and ordered, "Capture them." Not good. Yi Xian's expression changed. Heavenbreaker had just fought a great battle. Although he had annihilated this branch of the 4 Divine Beasts clan by himself, he had done so through a sneak attack. If it was a one-on-one battle, it would be impossible. After all, the 4 Divine Beasts clan was skilled in 4-man battle formations. If the 4 clan leaders joined forces, Heavenbreaker would not be able to kill them with his current strength. Not to mention, the 4 middle-aged men in front of him were all experts of the 4 Divine Beasts clan. They were at least 8th rank Saint Kings. In a one-on-one situation, Heavenbreaker already did not have the strength to fight, let alone 4 of them joining forces. Go! Yi Xian made a prompt decision and directly used the time reversal ability, instantly returning to the past. The Shattered Heaven Palace Master also had a death warrant on him, so Yi Xian returned to the past. At this time, the 4 Divine Beasts clan had not yet been annihilated, so Yi Xian once again rushed in to annihilate them. Then, he quickly swallowed all the members of the 4 Divine Beasts clan into the devouring space and left. Soon, he saw the 4 middle-aged men again, as well as the captured Shattered Heaven Palace Master. With Wei Zhentian's eyes, Yi Xian could see that the 4 middle-aged men stayed in the air for a while, then shook the ground. It turned out that there was a transmission array under the 4 Divine Valleys. Although the 4 men did not know who destroyed the 4 Divine Beasts clan and why, it did not matter. In any case, the 4 Divine Beasts clan had already developed to dozens of branches. Soon, the 4 men left with the Shattered Heaven Palace Master. Then, Yi Xian looked back and found that the Shattered Heaven Palace Master had already appeared in a place very far away from him. Fortunately, The other party did not destroy the transmission array, so Yi Xian prepared to go and take a look. About half a day later, Yi Xian felt that it was about time, so he walked into the transmission array and used some saint stones to activate it. Hua! The transmission array began to operate, and Yi Xian was sent to his destination. This time, he wanted to test the array and see where it would send him. When he landed, he felt a powerful aura. He quickly turned his head to look and found that he was in a teleportation palace. However, he was not far from the Shattered Heaven Palace Master. "Boy, where did you come from?" Suddenly, a strange voice fell into Yi Xian's ears. "I was on my way and found a transmission array, so," Yi Xian said casually. "Is that a ruin?" a guard on the side asked. "Yes." Yi Xian nodded. "In that case, get lost." The guard saw that Yi Xian's cultivation was very low, so he did not want to say more. Hearing this, Yi Xian quickly left the transmission palace. He guessed that this was the base of the Four Divine Beasts clan, and the place where the Shattered Heaven Palace Master was now should be the headquarters of the Four Divine Beasts clan. Immediately, Yi Xian casually found a place to move forward and began to locate the Shattered Heaven Palace Master. There was actually a loophole in what he said just now. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that the other party had not reacted and find a place to hide. He put on the flowing light invisibility cloak and hid. Sure enough, the transmission palace soon sent out many people to search for his location. It costs a lot of saint stones to use the transmission array. With that boy's cultivation, he would not be able to get it even in 10 lifetimes. He must be related to the destruction of the branch. Search for him. Unfortunately, Yi Xian, who was wearing the flowing light invisibility cloak, was not someone these people could find. At this time, Yi Xian was chasing after the Shattered Heaven Palace Master. However, after rushing for a while, he sensed that the Shattered Heaven Palace Master's location had changed again. He left again? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the Shattered Heaven Palace Master had only rested for a while, and was not at the headquarters of the Four Divine Beasts. Chapter 1948. 2 days later, he arrived at the place where Shattered Sky Palace's Palace Master and the 4 middle-aged men had stayed. This was a small town, and there were many powerful auras in it. Yi Xian walked in to see if he could find any information about the Four Divine Beasts clan. He also wanted to see where this was. At this time, a notice at the entrance of the town attracted his attention. This was a mission to hunt a sacred beast called a white-haired rat. As long as the white hair on the white-haired rat's forehead was taken, it could be exchanged for sacred stones. Yi Xian felt a little strange. After asking around, he found out that this place was called the Greater Rat Ruins. This place used to be a superpower, and it was said that there were Saint Monarch powerhouses overseeing it. However, later on, rat-type sacred beasts appeared out of nowhere and began to multiply. At first, this power did not care, but later on, the rat tide erupted and destroyed all the surrounding powers. In the end, this power had no choice but to leave. That was why this place was called the Greater Rat Ruins. And this mission to hunt white-haired rats was issued by the surrounding powers at their own expense. The white hair on the white-haired rat's forehead was very tough. If there was a large amount of it, it could be made into clothes with good defensive power. Therefore, many powers around the Greater Rat Ruins were collecting them. First, they could reduce the number of rats, and second, they could make a small profit. However, the Greater Rat Ruins were very dangerous. If one was not careful, they would be eaten by the rats. If one was not a Saint King, they would die. Of course, even if it was a high-level Saint King, there was a possibility that he would die inside. Those people entered the Greater Rat Ruins. Could it be that the Four Divine Beasts clan is in the Greater Rat Ruins? Yi Xian thought about it and felt that it was impossible. After asking around, he found out that the Four Divine Beasts clan was behind the Greater Rat Ruins. The experts of the Four Divine Beasts clan had to pass through the Greater Rat Ruins. Although the Greater Rat Ruins are dangerous, it is nothing to me. Yi Xian thought to himself as he stepped into the Greater Rat Ruins. This town was originally built outside the Greater Rat Ruins, but with the continuous outbreak of rat tides, the town was also considered to be within the Greater Rat Ruins. However, not long after Yi Xian entered the Greater Rat Ruins. Ding! The host has triggered a hunting mission. A system notification sounded. Hearing this, Yi Xian raised his eyebrows and quickly checked. He found that this hunting mission was to kill the white-haired rat. No, to be more precise, it was to obtain the white fur on the white-haired rat's forehead, which could be used to exchange. At most, it could be exchanged for devouring points. Not bad, not bad. I can actually exchange for devouring points. Looks like I can increase my strength this time. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. It had been a long time since he had obtained devour points. Right now, he still had 2 devour points in reserve. If he had 4 more points, he would be able to unlock the second immortal bloodline window. However, this hunting mission had a time limit. From now on, Yi Xian could only exchange for the white rat fur that he obtained within 10 days. Therefore, Yi Xian hesitated. Now that Shatter Heaven Palace's palace master has been captured, Shatter Heaven is very anxious. If I delay here for 10 days, who knows what will happen? Yi Xian thought to himself. In the end, he decided to pass through the greater rat ruins at full speed instead of looking for the white-haired rat. At that moment, Yi Xian chased after the scarlet word, kill, in front of him. Yi Xian was probably the only one who dared to enter the greater rat ruins as a great saint. However, the current him was not afraid even if he encountered a high-level Holy King level Holy Beast, because Shatter Heaven was about to break through again. The greater rat ruins were indeed dangerous. Yi Xian had just stepped in when he encountered a group of white-haired rats. This group of white-haired rats were only mid-level Holy Kings, and the highest was only a 6th-level Holy King. Therefore, Shatter Heaven easily killed them. The higher the level of these white-haired rats, the tougher their white fur, which was equivalent to having more low-level white fur. In comparison, using white fur to exchange in the system was much more profitable than exchanging outside. After that, Yi Xian continued straight ahead, not deliberately looking for white-haired rats. Soon, Shatter Heaven broke through to the 5th-level Holy Spirit Realm, and Yi Xian himself stepped into the 1st-level Holy Spirit Realm. At this time, it was already the 3rd day. In the Greater Rat Ruins, other than allowing Yi Xian to obtain white fur, it could also provide the Shackling Cauldron with a large number of Holy Beast corpses, which could allow Blackhorn and Luo Luo to quickly improve their level. After 3 days of hunting, Yi Xian obtained a large number of rat fur and Holy Beast corpses. Blackhorn's current level was not low, and his strength was enough to kill a 7th-level Holy King giant rat. Therefore, Blackhorn dealt with the small soldiers, and only when they encountered a difficult problem, such as a large number of rats or an 8th-level Holy King, Shatter Heaven would deal with it. However, just as Yi Xian was advancing, 2 figures suddenly appeared behind him. Although that big guy is only a low-level Holy King, he can kill several 7th-level Holy King giant white-haired rats. I'm afraid his background is not to be underestimated. He's just a 7th-level Holy King. If I see him, he'll only be killed in a second. However, he must be holding back. Let's not talk so much. Let's go over. As long as we take him down, we can find out why he's fighting so many levels above him. The 2 figures were a man and a woman. The man had a scar on his face, and it was very ferocious. Due to the difference in level, Blackhorn did not notice the 2 people behind him. If even he did not notice, it was even more impossible for Yi Xian, a 1st-level Holy Spirit, to do so. After all, the difference in level was too great. The 2 of them kept advancing. Yi Xian wanted to leave the giant rat ruins as soon as possible, so his speed was a little faster. Originally, the 2 people behind him were prepared to wait for Yi Xian and Blackhorn to encounter another group of rats, but after that, they did not encounter them even once. Therefore, they decided to make a move. Come, let's speed up and not arouse their suspicion. The man made a decision. After he finished speaking, he took the initiative to speed up and close the distance between him and Yi Xian. The other woman quickly followed. Soon, they entered Blackhorn's perception range. My 2 little brothers. Wait a moment. A shout broke through the air. When Yi Xian and Blackhorn heard it, they could not help but stop and look at the 2 people. What's the matter? Blackhorn asked cautiously. It's like this. We've lost our way in the giant rat ruins. Can you tell us the direction to Hualon Town? The man asked. Hualon Town? I'm not sure. You can ask others. Blackhorn shook his head. He really did not know this place because the town Yi Xian had encountered before was not called Hualon Town. After he finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to leave. Wait, even if it's another town, as long as it can help us leave the giant rat ruins. The man shouted. Chapter 1949.
Oh, thank you very much then.
The man clasped his fist at Black Horn, then turned around and prepared to leave. However, just as he turned his back to Black Horn, the sound of wind suddenly appeared. It was not the man or Black Horn who attacked, but Heavenbreaker. What? The man and woman clearly did not expect the other party to attack them. After all, they were 8th grade Saint Kings. Even those of the same level would be very cautious when facing them, let alone Black Horn. Most importantly, where did this little monkey come from with such a powerful attack? The attack from earlier had been blocked by the woman. However, her arm had been broken by the attack. What a powerful attack! Who are you? Tell me your names. The man asked with a face full of fear. In my eyes, you are already dead. Dead people don't need to know my name. Yi Xian said coldly. Humph, boasting shamelessly. Go to hell. The man shouted loudly as he charged towards Yi Xian with his sword in hand. Go! Yi Xian did not waste time and directly ordered. The man and woman were both 8th grade Saint Kings, and their strength was close to the top of the 8th grade Saint Kings. Heavenbreaker could handle one of them alone, and the other was left to Black Horn and Luo Luo. These two appeared in the ruins of the Greater Rat Clan, so there should be many white-haired rat corpses in their ring of cosmos. As long as they were killed, they would definitely make a lot of money. Rumble! The 5 of them began to fight. Although Black Horn and Luo Luo's cultivation was high, compared to Heavenbreaker, they were much weaker. Against the woman, Black Horn and Luo Luo were at a disadvantage, but on the other side, Heavenbreaker had a great advantage. Yi Xian looked at the shadows of the staff one after another, and estimated that this battle would end soon. As expected, in less than 3 seconds, the man was defeated. Their strength was considered the top of the 8th grade Saint Kings, but that was under the condition that they worked together. In a one-on-one situation, the man was beaten to a pulp by Heavenbreaker's powerful staff. Very soon, he was defeated. Go! The man felt that things were not going well and hurriedly sent a message to the woman. However, the moment the woman retreated, Heavenbreaker suddenly changed his target and swept out with his staff, striking the woman's lower abdomen. Fortunately, the woman was wearing one. This set of clothes was made from the forehead hair of a white-haired rat. It absorbed a large amount of force, otherwise, this strike would have been enough to kill her instantly. Little one. When the man saw this, he shouted loudly. Unfortunately, the woman was held hostage by Black Horn and Luo Luo. Let her go, the man said. Do you think it's possible? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. This man was very fast. If he wanted to leave, Heavenbreaker wouldn't be able to stop him. Then what do you want? The man raised his brows and asked. I'm afraid the reason you chased after me is because you want to kill me and steal my treasures. So, my request is very simple. Take off your interspatial ring and give it to me. Then you can leave. Yi Xian said. Impossible. The woman immediately shouted. The interspatial ring contained the wealth that they had accumulated over the years. How could they give it away just like that? If that's the case, then let's kill them. Yi Xian didn't waste any time. He turned around and said. In the next moment, Black Horn's hand punched out, aiming straight for the woman's face. The woman was wearing a decent set of clothes with good defense, but the head was very fragile. Even Black Horn could break it open. Wait. At this moment, the man suddenly said. Black Horn couldn't help but stop. Why? Do you have something to say to her? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. I can't give it to you, but I can tell you a secret. The man said. A secret. This attracted Yi Xian's attention, but he wouldn't show it on his face. What secret is more valuable than your interspatial ring? Yi Xian pretended to be in disbelief. The two of us have been in the Greater Rat Ruins for many years. We know the terrain very well. Under normal circumstances, there won't be any danger. However, there's a place in the Greater Rat Ruins that we don't dare to enter. The man said. And then? The man paused and said, We've seen 9th grade Holy King level white rats there, and it said that there might be a Holy King level rat. 9th grade Holy King, Holy King. Yi Xian smiled and said, You want me to send myself to death, right? I'm just telling you a secret. Those greater rats will eat the human corpses and bring back the interspatial rings. The man said. Yi Xian was slightly surprised. The Greater Rat Ruins had been formed for countless years. Who knew how many souls there were? If the greater rats could bring back the interspatial rings, wouldn't that be? Right now, I don't have enough rat hair to exchange for devour points. If I can kill my way in and take those interspatial rings, I'll definitely make a lot of money. Yi Xian suddenly became interested. Although the palace master of Shattered Heaven Palace was captured, he only needed a few days. The Black Tortoise clan wouldn't take him to strengthen their bloodline so quickly. If they wanted to use him to strengthen their bloodline, they would need a large amount. Therefore, Yi Xian guessed that the Black Tortoise clan was still in the process of capturing people. Most importantly, the palace master of Shattered Heaven Palace had a death warrant on him. If he died, Yi Xian would receive a system notification. At that time, it wouldn't be too late to reverse time. Okay, take me there and I'll let him go. Yi Xian nodded. Are you serious? The man raised an eyebrow. In this kind of situation, it's up to you to believe it or not. Yi Xian said coldly. Okay, I'll take you there. If you dare to touch him, I'll drag you down with me even if I have to risk my life. The man said and rushed towards the northwest of the Greater Rat Ruins. Yi Xian had Black Horn hold the woman hostage and followed him. 2 more days passed. 2 days later, Yi Xian saw a mountain range. According to the situation on the ground and when they came, the flow of greater rats here was very large. There were estimated to be millions of greater rats coming in and out every day. If that was the case, it was indeed the nest of the greater rats. I've brought you to the place. The man stopped and said to Yi Xian. You found a random place and told me that you found the secret? Yi Xian snorted. Don't tell me you still want to go in. There's a sage rat king inside. The man trembled. Since we're here, we naturally have to go in and take a look. As Yi Xian spoke, he cast his gaze towards Black Horn. Then, Black Horn threw the woman to the man. What? The man and woman were shocked. What's going on? He released her? Don't worry, she's been poisoned by me. I only have one antidote in my hands. If poisoned, even a sage rat king expert will die. You have 7 days. Yi Xian said slowly. You come with me. If what you say is true, I'll give you the antidote. Chapter 1950. Poison. When the woman heard this, her expression changed. She had been held hostage by Black Horn the entire time. How did he poison her? There's no reaction in my body. There's no poison at all. The woman said instinctively. You're too naive. If there's no poison, why would I let you go? If I killed you earlier, he couldn't do anything to me. Yi Xian said. Indeed, if the woman died, the man wouldn't be able to take down Patian even if he fought with his life on the line. He would definitely die if he was surrounded by Patian and the other 2. Bastard, you want to use us as bait? Are you trying to lure the Rat King out? The man shouted angrily. The Rat King is at the level of a great saint. I don't dare to provoke it now. I just want to see if what you said is true. As long as we meet a 9th grade Holy King Rat, I'll give you the antidote. How about it? Yi Xian said. 9th grade Holy King. The man and woman looked at each other. Both of them were 8th grade Holy Kings. With the help of Patian and the other 2, it shouldn't be a problem for them to face a 9th grade Holy King Rat. All right. In the end, both of them agreed. Of course, they also had ulterior motives. If they really met a 9th grade Holy King Rat, they could send one of them to take down Yi Xian and get the antidote. Although the woman didn't know when Yi Xian poisoned her, Yi Xian and the others were very strange. They could fight so many levels above them. Their methods were definitely not ordinary. Therefore, both of them believed that Yi Xian was telling the truth. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let them go. Then, both of them led the way into the mountain range. Yi Xian, Black Horn and the others followed behind. Be careful, there's a wave of rats coming. Hide. After a while, the ground began to shake violently. The man and woman quickly hid in the nearby forest. As for Yi Xian, he also put everyone away and put on the flowing light invisibility cloak. Rumble. A series of loud sounds spread. There were at least 10,000 rats in this wave of rats, and they were all intermediate grade Holy Kings. It was very terrifying. Even a 9th grade Holy King expert would be difficult to deal with if they were surrounded, let alone them. Huff huff. The scar-faced man and the woman breathed a sigh of relief. The Greater Rat Mountain Range was indeed terrifying. One careless mistake and they would be doomed eternally. At this point, they just wanted to meet as soon as possible. Once there was a 9th grade Holy King White Rat, Yi Xian would be able to give the antidote to both of them. However, how could a 9th grade Holy King level white-haired rat be so easy to encounter? The two parties cautiously entered the Greater Rat Mountain Range. About half a day later. Found it! The man in front suddenly stopped in his tracks. He saw an extra-large giant rat in front of him. It was one size bigger than an 8th grade Holy King. 9th grade Holy King. When Yi Xian heard the man's shout, he immediately sent Blackhorn over to take a look. There was indeed a giant rat. All right, here's the antidote. Yi Xian nodded and tossed the interspatial ring over. This poison was something that he had exchanged from the immortal grade devouring system. It was colorless, formless, and tasteless. Once one came into contact with it, one would be poisoned. Even a saint expert would die from the poison. However, this poison was only effective against humans. It was useless against holy beasts and zooyoists. After obtaining the antidote, the two of them quickly left. However, Yi Xian had already achieved his goal. Time reversal. In an instant, Yi Xian returned to the day when he was holding the woman hostage. I can't give you the thing, but I can tell you a secret, the man said. Sorry, I don't want to know this secret. I'll give you 3 seconds to consider. After 3 seconds, her head will explode. Yi Xian said coldly. You! The man pointed at Yi Xian angrily. However, he still understood the saying, where there's life, there's hope. At that moment, he threw his own interspatial ring to Yi Xian. As for the woman's ring, it had already been taken by Blackhorn. Yi Xian successfully obtained the 2 interspatial rings. There was a large amount of rat fur inside. What a steal! Yi Xian looked at the backs of the 2 people as they left. The rat fur inside was enough for him to exchange for 1 devouring point. Ding! The host has obtained 1 devouring point. A system notification sounded. Yi Xian's devouring points had reached 3. With 3 more points, he would be able to unlock the 2nd combat bloodline column. After that, Yi Xian rushed toward the Greater Rat Mountain Range. He wanted to kill his way in after making another breakthrough. This was an opportunity to earn a lot of devouring points. He couldn't just miss it. 2 days later, he arrived at the Greater Rat Mountain Range. It just so happened that the rat tide from last time was passing by. Therefore, Yi Xian decided to let Heavenbreaker and the others take action. Let's go! Yi Xian immediately gave the order. In the next moment, Heavenbreaker, Blackhorn, and Luo moved out together. Under such circumstances, the effect of Wei Zhentian's Myriad Beasts diagram was much better than the Mystic God armor. Once the Myriad Beasts diagram appeared, all the greater rats were suppressed by 70% of their strength. It was rare to see 1,000,000 white-haired rats. One had to know that in the past few days that Yi Xian had entered, he'd only seen over 1,000 rats at most. Heavenbreaker's shocking staff sweep could take away thousands of greater rats' lives. Blackhorn was even more ferocious. He opened his mouth and swallowed almost 10,000 greater rats. As for Luo, she was also shuttling through the greater rat tide. Her speed was so fast that she formed 2 waves of air. Wherever she passed, the greater rats would be cut in half. This rat tide could already threaten a rank 9 Holy King. However, under the joint efforts of Yi Xian and the others, it was like a sheet of loose sand. Soon, the 1,000,000-strong rat tide was eliminated. These greater rats were also in a killing frenzy. They would not leave until they had bitten Yi Xian and the others to death. Therefore, not a single greater rat escaped. Such a large number of greater rat corpses made Yi Xian very happy. If he could refine all of these corpses into beast pills, Blackhorn and Luo's realms would definitely increase greatly. However, that was not Yi Xian's goal. He was preparing to enter the center of the Greater Rat Mountain Range. There was a huge amount of wealth accumulated over countless years. For these few days, Yi Xian stayed outside the Greater Rat Mountain Range and let Heavenbreaker watch. As for Blackhorn and Luo, they returned to the devouring space to cultivate. 3 days later. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is now a rank 2 Holy Spirit. Ding! Yanming Ghost Lord, Wei Zhentian, and Heavenbreaker Ape God have broken through. The host is now a rank 6 Holy Spirit. Heavenbreaker's realm had increased. He could now fight a rank 9 Holy King Greater Rat. However, if he encountered the Rat King, he would probably have to run. After all, the Rat King was a holy lord. At this time, there were only 2 or 3 days left before the hunting mission. Until now, Yi Xian had only exchanged 1 devouring point. Other than the day when he came to the Greater Rat Mountain Range and encountered a million-strong rat tide, Yi Xian had not encountered such a large one. At most, there were tens of thousands of them. After a few days, there were only a few 100,000. Therefore, Yi Xian decided to enter the Greater Rat Mountain Range. Chapter 1951. The Greater Rat Ruins had been around for many years, but not many dared to enter the Greater Rat Mountains. Yi Xian was the first to do so. This place was full of dangers. Yi Xian put on the flowing light invisibility cloak and began to move quickly. He had the time reversal skill anyway, so his detection ability was very strong. If there was nothing on one side, he would reverse time and look for the other side. Soon, he encountered an army of greater rats that had set up camp. There were about 100,000 of them. Go! Yi Xian did not say anything and immediately ordered Heavenbreaker and the other 2 to kill them. With their current strength, they could almost finish off these 100,000 greater rats in 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, this army of greater rats was completely wiped out and devoured by Blackhorn. Heavenbreaker, go back and rest, Yi Xian said as he kept Heavenbreaker into the devouring space. For a battle of this level, Heavenbreaker only needed to rest for a few seconds. Of course, this was referring to the time in the outside world. After that, Yi Xian continued to move forward and encountered another army of greater rats. After wiping them out again, he continued on his way. At first, Yi Xian did not think much of it, but later on, Yi Xian realized that the positions of these greater rats seemed to have a pattern. No, it could not be said to be a pattern. It should be said that they were like soldiers, staying in a specific position. If one were to zoom in, these greater rats were arranged in a row, and each point was an army of greater rats. Is this the work of the Rat King? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. No matter what, these greater rats were his food. If I kill 1,000,000 more, I can exchange for a second devouring point. Thinking of this, Yi Xian was in a good mood. However, at this moment, Blackhorn, who was scouting ahead, suddenly reported that he saw an extra-large greater rat. It was estimated to be a rank 9 Holy King. Good, kill it. It's worth at least 1,000,000 greater rats. Yi Xian's eyes lit up and he quickly followed. Although Blackhorn's current strength was not as strong as Heavenbreaker, he had already broken through to Holy King. With his strong physique, he could still fight this rank 9 Holy King greater rat. Pati and Luo, kill it! Yi Xian roared in his mind. Blackhorn's devour and empty devour, they were connected, so Heavenbreaker could come out of his mouth. By the time Yi Xian arrived, they were already fighting. Rumble! The sounds of battle were deafening. A battle of this level was not something Yi Xian could interfere in, unless he could fuse with a second battle bloodline. However, the second bloodline window still required 3 devour points to activate, so it was still not enough. Very soon, under the combined attacks of Heavenbreaker and the other 2, the 9th grade Saint King level giant rat was killed. After it died, Yi Xian swiftly swept over and collected its corpse. Immediately after, he beamed with joy. The white fur of a 9th grade Saint King ranked white-furred rat was worth more than the 1,000,000-strong army from before. He had made a huge profit. After that, Yi Xian continued on his journey, preparing to kill all of the giant rats. Very soon, he encountered a second 9th grade Saint King ranked giant rat. This giant rat was also killed by Yi Xian in the end. Then, it was refined into a beast pill and fed to Blackhorn. Blackhorn had broken through again. Now that Blackhorn had reached the 4th grade Saint King level, his strength was no weaker than Heavenbreaker, who was wearing the mystic divine armor. The 2 of them worked together to increase their efficiency. From the beginning until now, Yi Xian had already killed millions of giant rats. However, all of the rat fur added up was only enough to exchange for 2 devour points. 2 more devour points, and I can activate the second bloodline window. Yi Xian raised his eyebrows and quickened his pace. After a while, he encountered the 3rd 9th grade Saint King ranked giant rat and killed it easily. Yi Xian gave this beast pill to Luo for her to break through. Now, Blackhorn, Heavenbreaker, and Luo's strength were almost the same. Even if they encountered the Rat King, they might be able to fight. However, at this moment, who gave you the courage to enter this place? Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice entered Yi Xian's ears.
He trembled and turned around to see a long-haired man looking at him. There was no aura at all.
How was this possible? Even Blackhorn and Heavenbreaker did not notice how this person came.
This person is so strong.
Yi Xian gulped and asked, "Who are you? You are killing wantonly in my territory, and you are asking me who I am?"
The man narrowed his eyes and asked.
Yi Xian finally understood. "You are the rat."
Yi Xian snorted coldly.
"That's right. That's what those people call me."
The man nodded.
Then his gaze fell on Heavenbreaker and said, "If I didn't see that it was using the Heaven Shocking Staff technique, I'm afraid you would all be dead." "You know?"
Yi Xian was shocked again.
"Why wouldn't I know?" Rat King coldly snorted and said, "This little monkey has Heavenbreaker's bloodline. He should be the descendant of that old monkey. The reason why I didn't kill you was to give him face." After hearing this, Yi Xian couldn't help but go silent. He quickly thought for a moment and said in horror, "You are the Demon Rat Palace's Palace Master?" To be able to control so many giant rats and recognize the Palace Master, it could only be the Demon Rat Palace's Palace Master of the 12 God Beast Palaces. "You can recognize me, that's strange." Rat King grinned and said, "A few days ago, I saw the weak old monkey being captured. Could it be that you followed him here?" "You saw him, but you didn't do anything?" Yi Xian asked in horror.
"Why should I save him?
"His life or death has nothing to do with me." Rat King shook his head and said, "Not only that, even if it was someone else, I wouldn't save them." Yi Xian looked at Rat King, secretly thinking that the other side was really cold-blooded. But at this time,
"Well, I've said so much to you.
It's time for me to get down to business. I want this little monkey," Rat King said and directly attacked Heavenbreaker.
"What?"
Yi Xian was shocked and quickly had Heavenbreaker counterattack. Why did Rat King want to capture Heavenbreaker? After pondering for a moment, Yi Xian finally understood why the Rat King had watched as the Palace Master of Shattering Heaven Palace was taken away and now wanted to capture Shattering Heaven.
"You are that traitor?"
Yi Xian angrily shouted. Rat King paused and said with a smile, "Yes, I was the one who colluded with the 4 God Beasts clan to destroy the 12 God Beast Palaces. Otherwise, how could I have reached this point today?" Back then, the 12 God Beast Palace's Palace Masters were at most 7th rank Saint Kings. But now, Rat King had actually broken through to the Saint Monarch realm. He should have joined the 4 God Beasts clan, so he ignored Heavenbreaker and instead wanted to capture Heavenbreaker. His purpose was to give Heavenbreaker to the 4 God Beasts clan. Since it's like this, then I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Yi Xian's eyes flashed and he ordered to kill Rat King. Chapter 1952. In an instant, Heavenbreaker, Blackhorn, and Luo unleashed their full strength and charged at the Rat King.
"How dare you!"
The Rat King didn't care at all and charged forward.
Blackhorn and the others were so much weaker than him.
How could he, who was full of pride, take them seriously?
However, he soon realized that things weren't that simple.
Blackhorn, Heavenbreaker, and Luo were actually able to fight him when they joined forces. The three of them cooperated very well. With Heavenbreaker as the main attacker and Blackhorn and Luo supporting him, the Rat King couldn't do anything to them after a few rounds. "This little monkey is so strong. I guess he's the youngest son of the old monkey?" The Rat King suddenly thought of something and said with a smile.
"Guess."
Yi Xian replied coldly. "The bloodline of this Heavenbreaker divine ape probably surpasses that of the little monkey. If I can hand it over to the 4 Divine Beasts clan, I might be able to break through the shackles and become a 2nd-rank Saint Lord." The Rat King thought to himself. He had indeed joined the 4 Divine Beasts clan and obtained a large amount of treasures from them. That was how he had achieved what he had today. However, it wasn't that easy to capture Heavenbreaker. I can't use my full strength in my human form. Next, I'll show you that I'm not someone you can mess with. The Rat King roared angrily as his body began to expand and transform into his true form. The Rat King's true form was called the Purple Gold Rat. It wasn't much different from the giant white-furred rat. The only difference was that it didn't have 100 hairs on its forehead. Instead, it had purple gold hairs. After transforming into his true form, the Rat King was astonishingly fast as he charged at Blackhorn. He wanted to capture Heavenbreaker, so as long as he killed either Blackhorn or Luo Luo, the battle would be over. Too naive. Myriad Beasts Diagram. Suppress. Suddenly, the mystic divine armor on Heavenbreaker transformed into the Myriad Beasts diagram. In the next moment, the Rat King's speed suddenly decreased. Blackhorn and the others took advantage of this opportunity to launch their strongest attacks.
Black Demon Claw.
Heaven's Startling Strike.
Flaming Rain of Fire.
The 3 people, 3 moves, all landed on the purple gold Rat King. The diagram of 10,000 beasts reduced all abilities, including defense. All 3 moves. Although they couldn't kill the Rat King, they severely injured it. Cough. The purple gold Rat King spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't understand what was going on, but his body told him that he had to leave now. Otherwise, he would be in trouble. You want to leave? Not so easy. The purple gold Rat King, whose speed had been reduced by 70%, was even slower than its human form.
Blackhorn stared at him, his mouth wide open.
Devour. Even though the other party's cultivation realm was too high and he couldn't devour it, he could still restrict the other party's speed. Heaven's Startling Strike.
Flaming Sky Rain of Fire.
Another 2 rounds of attacks fell on the purple gold Rat King. At this point, the Rat King's skin was already lacerated. Kill him. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly shouted angrily. Hold on. I can take you into the 4 Divine Beasts clan. The purple gold Rat King said in a hurry. Sorry, I don't need it. Yi Xian snorted coldly. In a few more days, Heavenbreaker's group would be strong enough to dominate the 4 Divine Beasts clan. Why would they need the violet gold Rat King to lead them? Bastard, if that's the case, then let's die together. As soon as the purple gold Rat King finished speaking, it raised its head and roared into the sky. Yi Xian understood that the Rat King was going to gather all the greater rats and fight to the death. But would it be so easy? Heaven's Startling Strike.
Flaming Sky Rain of Fire.
Black Demon Claw. The 3 of them attacked again. By the time this round of attacks fell on the purple gold Rat King, the latter was already on the verge of death. Then, Blackhorn quickly opened his mouth and sucked the purple gold Rat King into the devouring space. With this, the matter was resolved. Yi Xian immediately checked the purple gold Rat King's interspatial ring. Sure enough, there was a large amount of white fur in it. He guessed that the purple gold Rat King was raising white fur rats and then giving them to the 4 Divine Beasts clan in exchange for benefits. In addition, the interspatial ring contained a large amount of natural treasures. The amount was so large that it made Yi Xian's heart palpitate. Ding. The host has exchanged for 1 devouring point. Ding. The host has exchanged for 1 devouring point. 2 system notifications rang out consecutively. Yi Xian used the rat fur to exchange for devouring points. Now, he had a total of 6 devouring points. He immediately used the 6 devouring points to open the second combat bloodline column. Ding. The host. The second immortal combat bloodline column has been opened. Ding. The purchase of the sword immortal bloodline is successful. Do you want to integrate it now? The system notifications rang out again. The sword immortal bloodline was a combat bloodline that Yi Xian had his eyes on. With this sword immortal bloodline, he could probably join the battle. Yes. Yi Xian immediately answered in his mind and integrated the sword immortal bloodline. Ding. The host has obtained the 1-hit kill sword, Peerless Sword Duel. Ding. The mighty flying sword has been upgraded. Yi Xian quickly checked. In the next moment, a rather handsome long sword appeared in his hand. This sword was called the 1-hit kill sword. As the name suggested, it had the effect of killing with 1 hit. It could greatly enhance the skill of killing with 1 hit. In addition, as long as Yi Xian held this 1-hit kill sword, his combat strength would directly increase by 30 times. Then, Yi Xian put away the 1-hit kill sword and replaced it with another long sword. The Peerless Sword Duel could also increase the host's combat strength by 30 times. Yi Xian turned his head and saw that a person who looked exactly like him had condensed in front of him. This was the Sword Immortal clone, holding the other Peerless Sword Duel in his hand. Most importantly, this Sword Immortal clone would not be destroyed. Yi Xian could also switch places with him at any time. In addition, he could also use Yi Xian's various skills. The 1-hit kill sword had the effect of killing with 1 hit. The Peerless Sword Duel gave Yi Xian a death immunity card, which was very useful. Moreover, these were only the two weapons given by the Sword Immortal bloodline. Man and Sword as one. Every advancement will increase the combat strength of the one-hit kill sword and Peerless Sword Duel by 10 times. When the Sword Immortal descends, my combat strength will greatly increase. I can use the ultimate move, Single Sword Immortal Ascension. These were the two advancement paths of the Sword Immortal bloodline. Both were very heaven-defying. However, these two advancement paths required a lot of devour points. This is too scary. Just by holding the Peerless Sword Duel, my combat strength has increased by 30 times. Right now, I'm afraid my combat strength is no weaker than Potion's when he's wearing the Mystic God armor. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. This Sword Immortal bloodline was the last bloodline in the Immortal level Devour system. At the same time, it was also the most powerful bloodline. 6 Devour points to open the Battle Bloodline column was definitely worth it. Blackhorn and Luo Luo were both 4th grade Holy Kings, while Patian was a 6th grade Holy Spirit. Chapter 1953. If the three of them worked together and did not use the illustration of 10,000 beasts, they would be stronger than the average Great Sage. However, Yi Xian, who had the Sword Celestial bloodline, was much stronger. Ever since my Tower of Trials was refreshed, I can only reach the 7th level. I can't even pass the 8th level. Now I want to see how many levels I can reach. With that in mind, Yi Xian immersed himself in the Tower of Trials. Pets could not be summoned in the Tower of Trials, but Yi Xian, who had the Sword Celestial bloodline, easily cleared the 8th level that he was stuck at previously. As a result, he obtained another Devour point. Next was the 9th level. With the one-hit kill sword in hand, Yi Xian easily killed his opponent with a single slash. Cleared. As for the 10th level, it was still an instant kill. On the 11th level, the opponent was 11 levels higher than him, which was the 4th stage Holy King. However, he was still instantly killed by Yi Xian. On the 12th level, instant kill. On the 13th level, instant kill. At this point, Yi Xian had already obtained 5 Devour points. As long as he cleared the next level, he would be able to get back the 6 Devour points that he needed to activate the second bloodline column. Immediately, Yi Xian stepped onto the 14th level. If he had not triggered the one-hit kill effect on the previous level, he would not have cleared it so easily. He felt that the 14th level would not be so simple. He would probably need to use his skills. On the 14th level, there was a 7th stage Holy King Cultivator. The countdown began. 0. The moment the countdown reached 0, Yi Xian immediately used 6 Slaughter Seals, instantly increasing his combat power by 13 times. Instant kill. It had to be said that the combination of the Sword Celestial bloodline and the Immortal Slayer bloodline was extremely powerful. Yi Xian also cleared the 15th level easily. However, the 16th level was tricky. At this point, he was not holding the one-hit kill sword, but the unparalleled sword. In the next battle, he cleverly used the Sword Celestial clone to fight a guerrilla war with his opponent. The Sword Celestial clone could use Yi Xian's skills with the other sword of the unparalleled sword. Moreover, it was in an invincible state. Yi Xian had it block the attacks for him while he continued to stack Slaughter Seals. In the end, all 11 Slaughter Seals erupted. 24 times the combat power. This allowed Yi Xian's strength to skyrocket. Level 16. Cleared. On the 16th level of the Tower of Trials, Yi Xian encountered a 9th rank Holy King. However, this was not his limit, because he still had 9 devouring points that he had not used yet. As for the 17th floor, Yi Xian didn't try it for the time being because that was a Saint Monarch level, and he knew that he wouldn't be able to defeat it. Therefore, he decided to use up his devouring points first. Ding! Man and Sword as one successfully advanced. Ding! Sword Immortal's descent advancement successful. The 2 advancement paths of the Sword Immortal bloodline required 3 Devour points for each advancement. Therefore, Yi Xian expended 6 Devour points for each advancement. With the advancement of one with a sword, his combat prowess had increased by 40 times, which was 10 times more than before. It would not be a problem for him to clear the 18th level. Right now, there were still 3 devouring points left. Ding! Host has cleared level 18. Reward: 1 Devour point. Devour points had increased to 4. Then, Yi Xian began to challenge the 19th level. With his rank 2 Holy Spirit Realm, his opponent would be a third-rank Holy King.
3, 2, 1.
The moment the countdown reached 0, Yi Xian immediately used his trump card. Slaughter Mode, a 13-fold increase in strength. Sword Immortal's Descent. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. His entire body emitted a white light, and even his hair turned white. With the peerless dual sword in his hand, he gave off a sage-like aura. His opponent on the 19th level was a Zuyoist, and it was the Feng Qinglong that he had seen before. The moment Yi Xian transformed, his opponent also transformed into his original form. Single Sword Immortal Ascension. Without saying a word, Yi Xian and the Sword Immortal clone transformed into a ray of light and pierced towards the Feng Qinglong. However, this rank 3 Holy Monarch Feng Qinglong wasn't so easy to deal with. After it roared towards the sky, countless wind blades shot out from its body. These wind blades were extremely sharp, and could easily cut open the body of a rank 2 Holy Monarch. The Sword Immortal clone was invincible, and naturally wasn't afraid of these wind blades. However, Yi Xian was different. Yi Xian, who was using the Single Sword Immortal Ascension, had no choice but to stop and use the Extreme Space Shield to save his life. Unfortunately, these wind blades were endless, and the entire 19th level was filled with wind blades. Finally, Yi Xian was turned into meat paste by these wind blades, and failed the challenge. I actually failed. Yi Xian didn't expect this. The higher the level of the Tower of Trials, the stronger the Guardians were, and almost all of them were Zuyoists. However, Yi Xian's opponent this time was Feng Qinglong, and it was very troublesome. As long as he encountered a simpler opponent next time, he might be able to fight. All in all, Yi Xian now had the qualifications to exterminate the 4 Divine Beasts clan.
4 Divine Beasts clan, prepare to die.
Yi Xian looked at the scarlet kill character in the sky, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, there was still a problem to be solved, and that was the giant rats that the Purple Gold Rat King had summoned. If it was before, it would indeed be troublesome. However, even the Purple Gold Rat King had been sucked into the devouring space, so what could these giant rats do to him? Black Horn, if you can, then do it. Otherwise, kill them. Yi Xian immediately gave Black Horn the order, and then he took out his peerless dual sword. These giant rats were still useful, and their fur might be able to be exchanged for devouring points. Furthermore, if they were sucked into the devouring space, Yi Xian could kill them if he needed them in the future, and obtain the slaughter mark. A storm of blood was about to unfold. Currently, Yi Xian was the strongest among them, and this was under the condition that he wasn't wearing the Mystic God battle armor. If he could wear the Mystic God battle armor, even if the Purple Gold Rat King was a rank 3 Holy Monarch, it wouldn't be able to escape death. Sword Immortal Clone. Immortal Slaying Puppet. Immortal Extinguishing Arrow. Immortal Slaying Sword Array. Yi Xian began to madly attack, and the giant rats that had gathered were killed in droves. There were still 2 days left, so Yi Xian wanted to kill all of these giant rats. 2 days later. Ding! The host obtained 1 devouring point. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. In these 2 days, Yi Xian had slaughtered more than 20 million giant rats of different levels, and then used the white fur of these giant rats to exchange for 1 devouring point. Now, he had 5 devouring points. Let's go, destroy the 4 Divine Beasts clan. Yi Xian didn't say anything and turned around to leave. From now on, he didn't need to use the Ascension to Immortality steps anymore, and instead used the flying sword form of Mighty Shock the Heavens. In less than half a day, he left the giant rat ruins and chased after Shattered Heaven Palace Master. Chapter 1954. They stopped? At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly sensed that Shattered Heaven Palace Master had stopped. He couldn't help but wonder if Shattered Heaven Palace Master had already arrived at the 4 Divine Beasts clan. He estimated that he would need about 2 hours to catch up with the other party. Shattered Heaven, it's time for you and your father to reunite. Yi Xian's eyes flickered as he spoke to Shattered Heaven. Soon, he approached the target of the death warrant, which was Shattered Heaven Palace Master. Looking from afar, there were 4 towering statues in front of him. They were the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. It seemed that he had finally arrived at the 4 Divine Beasts clan. From the Purple Gold Rat King's memories, Yi Xian knew that the 4 Divine Beasts clan had 4 ancestors. They were the ones who had sealed the Palace Master of the Purple Gold Palace. These 4 were all second-rank saints. If they joined forces, they wouldn't even fear a third-rank saint. However, Yi Xian wasn't afraid of them either. Yi Xian, who possessed powerful battle strength, didn't need to fear them and directly flashed over.
Eye of Assassination.
In the next moment, Yi Xian arrived in front of a person. It was Shattered Heaven Palace Master who had been captured. Besides Shattered Heaven Palace Master, there were 4 other masters of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, all of them 9th-grade Saint Kings. Immediately, Yi Xian made a move and easily killed the 4 of them. With his current strength, even if the 4 ancestors of the 4 Divine Beasts clan attacked, he wouldn't be afraid, let alone these 4.
Yi Xian.
Shattered Heaven Palace Master stared blankly at the 4 corpses on the ground.
Senior, I've come to save you.
Yi Xian grinned and directly absorbed Shattered Heaven Palace Master into the devouring space, reuniting with him. Now, whether it was Blackhorn, Shattered Heaven, or Luo Luo, their strength couldn't catch up to Yi Xian. Thus, Yi Xian didn't need their help. 4 Divine Beasts clan?
1 person was enough.
Wei Zhentian, in flying sword form, follow me to deal with the Vermilion Bird ancestor. Yi Xian immediately gave the order. Then, his aura skyrocketed. 11 slaughter seals all erupted, wildly increasing his battle strength by 24 times.
Kill.
Within the Azure Dragon race, there was an extremely powerful aura. It should be the Azure Dragon ancestor who was a second-rank Saint Lord. Yi Xian stepped on his flying sword and arrived in an instant. When Patriarch Green Dragon sensed Yi Xian, he opened his eyes and came out of seclusion.
Who are you?
Ancestor Azure Dragon looked at Yi Xian and said. As he possessed the bloodline of the Azure Dragon clan, he was very sensitive to the bloodline in Yi Xian's body. In the past, you annihilated the 12 God-Beast palaces for your own selfish reasons. Today, I will annihilate your 4 Divine Beasts clan for my own selfish reasons.
Prepare to die.
As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Xian made his move. Sword Immortal descends. 1 sword ascends to immortality. In an instant, Yi Xian turned into a streak of white light and passed through Ancestor Azure Dragon's body. Ancestor Azure Dragon was dead. This move was currently Yi Xian's most powerful attack. If he used the Single Strike Kill Sword, the attack power of the Single Strike Flying Immortal would greatly increase. Moreover, the success rate of the Single Strike Kill would also increase. If he used the Peerless Sword Duel, the Sword Immortal clone would also use the Single Strike Flying Immortal technique, which would be more difficult to deal with. Generally speaking, there were pros and cons to each. However, after Ancestor Azure Dragon died, Yi Xian discovered that something was wrong. After his opponent died, he actually didn't return to his original body and instead dissipated. It was actually a Saint Energy clone. It's only Ancestor Azure Dragon's clone. Forget it. As long as it's a Saint King, kill without mercy. Yi Xian immediately gave the order. At the same time, he also summoned Heaven Breaker. When the 12 God-Beast palaces were attacked by the 4 Divine Beasts clan, Heaven Breaker was sealed, and he was also sent to the lower immortal world. Today, how could he not come out to take revenge? In an instant, the Azure Dragon race set off a storm of carnage. Yi Xian, the Sword Immortal clone, the Immortal Slaying Puppet, Wei Zhentian, Heaven Breaker, and the others were crazily killing. As long as it was a Saint King, it was difficult to escape death. At the same time, Blackhorn was wantonly devouring the corpses of the Azure Dragon race and then extracting the dragon crystals to nurture Rib's dragon embryo. At the same time, in the depths of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, 4 old men who were sitting cross-legged opened their eyes. Someone is wantonly slaughtering my Azure Dragon race. Bastard, quickly come with me, otherwise my Azure Dragon race will suffer heavy casualties. But the seal is not complete yet.
Don't care so much, let's go.
The 4 old men quickly left the underground and came to the surface. At this time on the surface, the Azure Dragon race had a strange change, and the other 3 great clans had already learned of it. Ding! The degree of dragon embryo nurturing has reached 100%. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. When the dragon embryo was nurtured to 100%, it could find a dragon corpse with high compatibility to revive Rib. However, if the dragon embryo was nurtured to 200%, then the chance of mutation would increase by 50%. Coupled with the random mission of reviving Rib, the chance of mutation would increase to 100%. Therefore, Yi Xian did not want to revive Rib for now. At this time, 4 powerful auras suddenly appeared. How dare you behave so atrociously in my 4 divine beasts clan? Tell me your names. The White Tiger Patriarch shouted angrily. Seeing that the main characters had finally arrived, Yi Xian could not help but turn around and look at the 4 figures in the distance.
You've come at the right time, saving me the trouble of looking for you.
Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and in the next moment, Wei Zhentian transformed into the mystic divine battle armor and put it on his body. His battle strength soared again.
You're courting death. After the 4 of them smelled the spreading stench of blood, they immediately formed the battle formation of 4 gods and charged towards Yi Xian.
The 4 divine beasts clan was proficient in forming the battle formation of 4 gods. Furthermore, the Vermilion Bird, Azure Dragon, and White Tiger clans had all undergone bloodline strengthening, so the battle formation of 4 gods was even more powerful. It was only slightly weaker in terms of defense. Unfortunately, Yi Xian was not afraid. Swish! Before the 4 of them charged over, the Sword Celestial clone used the Deathly Hunt command to mark one of them, then crossed a large distance and arrived behind the other party. Immortal Slaying Sword Formation. The Immortal Slaying Sword Formation, enhanced by the Eye of Assassination, spread out and instantly surrounded the 4 patriarchs. Be careful. The Black Tortoise Patriarch quickly used his techniques to protect the other 3. Unfortunately, this could not stop the Sword Celestial clone. Deathly Hunt command. Eye of Assassination. In the next moment, the Sword Celestial clone once again arrived behind the Vermilion Bird Patriarch and slashed out with his sword. Immortal Slaying Breath Slash. Rip. A crisp sound was heard, and the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's back was cut open. If not for the Black Tortoise Patriarch protecting him, he would have died. The 4 of them had gloomy expressions. They understood that they could not fight in their human forms, so they all transformed into their true forms. As a result, it was exactly what Yi Xian wanted. This time, without waiting for Yi Xian's instructions, Wei Zhentian directly transformed into the Myriad Beasts diagram. Suppress. In an instant, the battle strength of the 4 patriarchs plummeted. Chapter 1955. All of you go to hell. Yi Xian stared at the 4 massive figures in the air, killing intent flashing through his eyes. He joined forces with the Sword Immortal clone to attack Patriarch Azure Dragon. Eye of Assassination. Immortal Slaying Breath Slash. The 2 used the same move. 2 massive slashes slashed across Patriarch Azure Dragon's body, instantly chopping him into 3 pieces. Even his dragon heart was chopped in half. Patriarch Azure Dragon was dead.
The death of just one member of the 4 Divine Beasts clan would greatly weaken the might of the 4 gods' battle formation, let alone when it was being suppressed by the Myriad Beasts diagram.
Old Dragon? When the other 3 patriarchs saw Patriarch Azure Dragon's corpse, they were all stunned. Before they could react, Yi Xian and the Sword Immortal clone attacked once more. This time, it was the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. Then the White Tiger Patriarch. Finally, it was the Black Tortoise Patriarch's turn, the one with the strongest defense. He was the one who wanted to use the heaven-breaking ape god bloodline to strengthen himself. In the blink of an eye, all 4 patriarchs of the 4 Divine Beasts clan had fallen. Not a single one remained. With this, the 4 Divine Beasts clan could be considered to have been wiped out. Follow the plan. After the 4 died, Yi Xian quickly said. Although the 4 patriarchs were dead, Yi Xian's goal wasn't just that. He wanted a large number of corpses of the Azure Dragon clan. As for the other 3 clans, he couldn't be bothered with them. As long as he killed their upper echelons, they wouldn't be able to cause any more trouble. This mission was carried out by the Sword Immortal clone and Wei Zhentian. One dragon crystal after another was obtained by Yi Xian, who then used it to nurture the dragon embryo. The nurturing process of the dragon embryo was rapidly increasing. From 100%, it increased to 110%, then to 120%. How much would he be able to nurture this time? It would be best if he could reach 200%. That would save Yi Xian a lot of trouble. On the other side, when the Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, and White Tiger clans saw that their patriarchs had died, they were all scared out of their wits and scattered. Unfortunately, they couldn't stop the Sword Immortal puppet and Wei Zhentian in his flying sword form. Corpses fell from the sky one after another. The blood of the Vermilion Bird clan dripped down and turned into flames, igniting a raging inferno. However, just as Yi Xian was taking revenge for the 12 god beast palaces,
a certain creature deep underground suddenly let out a roar.
Roar.
The roar was deafening, causing the earth to tremble. The 4 towering statues also began to shake violently. When Yi Xian heard this, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Was there something down there? Before he could react, the 4 statues around him collapsed with a loud crash, emitting traces of saint power fluctuations. It was only now that Yi Xian realized that the 4 statues were actually a 4 gods' heaven sealing array. Could it be that something had been sealed? Rumble! The earth began to crack, and a scorching aura emerged from the ground, instantly burning that area to ashes. Following that, a huge head popped out of the hole. Yi Xian took a closer look and realized that he seemed to have seen this head somewhere before. However, the temperature of this soaring flame was too high. Even though he was wearing the mystic divine armor, he still felt uncomfortable, so he quickly retreated. As for the Sword Immortal clone, he stayed here. After all, the Sword Immortal clone was invincible. No matter what it is, kill.
Yi Xian didn't hesitate and gave the order to the Sword Immortal clone.
In the next moment, the Sword Immortal clone turned into a stream of light and charged toward the fire pillar.
Immortal Slaying Breath Slash. The Sword Immortal clone raised his hand and slashed at the fire pillar. Swish! The huge sword light broke through the air and slashed at the fire pillar, but surprisingly, it was burned to ashes by the fire pillar. One had to know that this attack was enough to kill a second-grade great sage, but it couldn't even break the fire pillar. What exactly was this saint beast? At this moment, the saint beast inside the fire pillar quickly rose into the air and entered Yi Xian's sight. After seeing its entire body, Yi Xian couldn't help but tremble slightly. This was actually a unicorn.
Ah, run!
The scorching unicorn has broken the seal. The people of the 4 divine beasts clan shouted loudly. It was indeed a unicorn. I didn't expect that the 4 divine beasts clan had a unicorn sealed under them. Yi Xian was slightly surprised. He hurriedly absorbed Wei Zhentian into his devouring space and let him search his soul. In an instant, Yi Xian understood where this scorching unicorn had come from. Back then, after the 4 divine beasts clan destroyed the 12 divine beasts palaces, they didn't move here. They had coincidentally encountered this heavily injured scorching unicorn. The 2 sides had a great battle, and the 4 ancestors of the 4 divine beasts clan used the 4 divine heaven sealing formation to seal it. Later on, they discovered that the blood of this scorching unicorn had a beneficial effect on their bloodlines, especially to the Vermilion Bird clan. Thus, they moved here and continuously absorbed the blood of the scorching unicorn to strengthen themselves. Otherwise, with the help of the 12 divine beasts palaces, they could only break through to the great sage level at most. But after obtaining this scorching unicorn, their bloodlines continued to improve. Just now, the 4 ancestors had absorbed the blood of the unicorn, but they didn't have time to seal it because Yi Xian had attacked the 4 divine beasts clan. Before they could completely seal it, the scorching unicorn had finally attacked. After learning of this, Yi Xian's eyes flashed. This scorching unicorn gave him a very bad feeling. This was because he also had the bloodline of the unicorn. Although it was a unicorn of the immortal eye, they were of the same bloodline. Roar! The flaming sun Qilin also focused its attention on Yi Xian. It could sense the immortal eye Qilin bloodline within Yi Xian's body, as well as the powerful fire attribute of the immortal divine phoenix bloodline. Not good. At this moment, Yi Xian's expression changed. He felt that this scorching unicorn wanted to devour him to recover its strength. Ding! Host has triggered a random mission. Kill the scorching unicorn. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. He had actually triggered a random mission at this moment? What kind of joke is this? This scorching unicorn has recovered a lot of its strength after so many years. I'm afraid it has already reached the 4th stage Saint Monarch realm. I can't kill it right now. Yi Xian jumped in fright and hurriedly tore open the void to leave. Roar! When this scorching unicorn saw Yi Xian disappear, it was so angry that it roared at the sky. As it roared, it continuously released terrifying flames, turning everything around it into ashes. Even the experts of the Vermilion Bird clan couldn't escape death. Although Yi Xian had left, the Vermilion Bird was also of the fire attribute. With so many people around, it could recover a lot. Therefore, this scorching unicorn began to hunt down the experts of the Vermilion Bird clan, devouring everyone it saw. Chapter 1956. Fortunately, Yi Xian would be able to break through in a few days. At that time, he could use Sword Immortal's descent to kill it. At this moment, Yi Xian was observing everything that was happening at the Four Divine Beasts clan through Wei Zhentian's eyes. The Scorching Unicorn had destroyed the Four Divine Beasts clan. Everything was burned to ashes, and countless experts of the Four Divine Beasts clan had died. After that, the Scorching Unicorn absorbed the flames of the Vermilion Bird clan experts and began to recover from its injuries. Its aura is strengthening. This guy has absorbed the power of the flames. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. If that was the case, the plan to kill the Scorching Unicorn in a few days would be ruined. However, even if it recovered, it wouldn't be faster than Yi Xian's breakthrough speed, right? Yi Xian had Wei Zhentian follow it from afar. When the time was right, he would finish it off. Next, Yi Xian followed the Scorching Unicorn for 3 days. In these 3 days, the Scorching Unicorn burned its way through, destroying countless factions along the way. Everywhere it passed, not a single blade of grass grew. Yi Xian had Wei Zhentian follow it from behind, feeling its aura rising bit by bit. Ding! Host has broken through. Currently a 3rd grade sacred spirit. Ding! Infernal Ghostly Lord, Wei Zhentian, and the Sky-Breaking Ape God have broken through. Currently a 7th grade sacred spirit. Yi Xian's cultivation level had finally increased. However, the Scorching Unicorn's cultivation level had also recovered to the 5th grade Sacred Lord level. Today, I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and kill this beast. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He broke through the void and arrived beside Wei Zhentian. The Scorching Unicorn in the distance also sensed the Immortal Eye Unicorn bloodline in Yi Xian's body. It turned around and rushed towards him. Gemini Heartlink Pendant. Connect. Wei Zhentian instantly transformed into the Gemini Heartlink Pendant and released 2 red lights, connecting Yi Xian and the Scorching Unicorn. Unfortunately, the difference of 20 cultivation levels between the two was so small that the chances were pitifully small. In desperation, he could only use the 10,000 Beasts diagram. In an instant, Scorching Unicorn's strength was suppressed, but what surprised Yi Xian was that the effect of the Myriad Beasts diagram was not 100%. Originally, the Myriad Beasts diagram could suppress 70% of Scorching Unicorn's strength. But now, Yi Xian felt that only 50% of Scorching Unicorn's strength had been suppressed. It seemed that it wasn't because the other party's cultivation was too high, but because the other party's bloodline was too noble. Fine, I'll take care of you. Yi Xian took out his sword of sure kill and attacked. Slaughter mode. Activate. In an instant, Yi Xian's fighting strength skyrocketed. Following that was the arrival of a Sword Immortal. Bastard, watch me kill you. Yi Xian widened his eyes and turned into a white streak of light, attacking Scorching Unicorn. Roar! Scorching Unicorn roared angrily and spat out a scorching breath at Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian was using his strongest attack, Flying Immortal. As long as he could hurt Scorching Unicorn, there was a chance that he could kill the other party in an instant. Yi Xian already had a one-hit kill skill, and now with the addition of Flying Immortal and Flying Immortal, the chance of triggering it was greatly increased. Whoosh! Yi Xian broke through the flames with his sword and attacked. With a muffled sound, Yi Xian's sword pierced Scorching Unicorn's huge head. Unfortunately, the one-hit kill effect was not triggered this time. Moreover, the temperature inside was shockingly high. Just as Yi Xian was about to continue attacking, an extremely strong wave of heat rolled out, forcing him to use teleportation to leave. I don't believe that I can't trigger the one-hit kill. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. The man and beast began to fight. This Scorching Unicorn must have been at a very high level when it was at its peak. Otherwise, an ordinary 5th stage Saint Lord Sacred Beast would have been seriously injured or even killed in an instant. This battle was extremely intense. Yi Xian held the one-kill sword in his hand, but he was still unable to instantly kill the Flaming Sun Qilin. On the contrary, he felt that he could not take it anymore. The surrounding temperature was getting higher and higher. Even Yi Xian, who had the Immortal Eye Unicorn bloodline and the Immortal Phoenix bloodline, started to sweat. After all, his level was too low. He was relying entirely on his Immortal Slaying bloodline and Sword Immortal bloodline to fight above his level. I don't believe that time can be reversed. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and reversed the time to half a day ago. Half a day later, he came back as scheduled and used Flying Immortal on Scorching Unicorn. Unfortunately, he still did not succeed. Again.
The second time was reversed and he still did not manage to kill it. I'm going to fight with you. The third time was reversed and he still failed. Just like that, Yi Xian continued to use the time reversal skill. He went back 10 times and failed 10 times. In the end, Yi Xian decided to give up. Where did this scorching unicorn come from? I can't kill it even after using flying immortal 11 times. Yi Xian was a little helpless. Due to the difference in level, the chances of killing it instantly were not high. If it was only 5%, it would be difficult to encounter 1 out of 11 times. Therefore, he decided to follow him for the time being. After he made another breakthrough, he would follow the normal plan and kill this scorching unicorn. However, on the third day after he made a breakthrough, this scorching unicorn suddenly arrived in front of a city. Yi Xian checked the map and found that this city was called Flame City. It was built next to a volcano and the temperature was extremely high. The scorching unicorn loved this kind of place the most. Therefore it rushed in directly. A powerful sacred beast is attacking. The general of Flame City yelled out furiously. At the next moment, a large number of experts appeared. But the moment they showed themselves, they were spat to death by the scorching unicorn and burned to ashes. The flaming sun Qilin slaughtered its way into the City of Flames. The flames spread out like a living hell. After the Flame City's City Lord residents received the news, they quickly led experts over in an attempt to kill this evil scorching unicorn. The Flame City's City Lord was a 5th stage Saint Lord. With the help of other experts, they might be able to fight this scorching unicorn. Rumble! This group of people surrounded and attacked the scorching unicorn in the air. However, this scorching unicorn had tough skin and flesh. When facing the attacks of this group of people, it actually ignored them and only cared about charging forward. At this moment, in a faraway place, Yi Xian saw this battle through the eyes of shaking the heavens. This scorching unicorn seems to want to enter the volcano and use the violent flames inside to recover its strength. Yi Xian's eyes flickered and he hesitated for a moment. This was a good opportunity for him to make a move. After all, there were others helping him. Immediately, he quickly broke through the void and left. When he walked out of the void door, the flaming sun Qilin in front of him suddenly stopped in its tracks. It turned around and looked at Yi Xian. The two of them did not say a word and attacked together. Unparalleled Sword Duel. Chapter 1957. Slash. The Sword Saint clone wielded the other sword of the matchless swords and stabbed towards the scorching unicorn's eyes. Clang! The matchless sword stabbed into the scorching unicorn's eyes, but it did not break through the defense. Yi Xian used the Sword Saint clone's eyes to take a look and realized that there was a layer of flame defense. Previously, he had fought with the scorching unicorn for more than 10 rounds and had also blinded the opponent, but he did not notice such a thing at that time. Therefore, Yi Xian immediately understood that this had something to do with the environment. The scorching unicorn had made use of the volcano's environment to become stronger. Bang! Just as Yi Xian was astonished, the Sword Saint clone was blasted away by the scorching unicorn's flame breath. However, the Sword Saint clone was invincible and was not injured at all. Following that, the scorching unicorn turned its attention back to Yi Xian and charged towards him. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Yi Xian's eyes flickered and immediately went all out to face the Sword Saint clone. In an instant, he joined the battle. The Flame City had 1/5 stage Great Sage, 3/4 stage Great Sages, and more than 10 3rd stage Great Sages. With the addition of Yi Xian and the Sword Saint clone, they might be able to fight. However, if this was any other place, the scorching unicorn would have been dead by now. However, they were in the vicinity of a volcano. The scorching unicorn was injured and could actually make use of the violent flame breath to recover. This is a little troublesome. The veins on Yi Xian's forehead bulged as he changed the sword in his hand to the one-hit kill sword. Sword Saint descends. Instantly, his aura surged again. In the next moment, he turned into a stream of light and stabbed towards the scorching unicorn. Single sword soaring immortal. However, what surprised him was that this single sword soaring immortal was actually unable to break through the scorching unicorn's flame breath. This guy was affected by the environment and became stronger. Roar! When scorching unicorn saw that it couldn't do anything to Yi Xian, it gave up on attacking and turned to run towards the volcano. Stop it! If it goes into the volcano, it will be even stronger. Yi Xian shouted angrily. What? The people from Flame City were shocked. Now that they were besieging Scorching Unicorn, They were unable to do anything to him. If his strength increased again, Blazing City would definitely be destroyed. This group of people all took out their trump cards and attacked Scorching Unicorn crazily. Unfortunately, some people couldn't break through the defense, while some people's injuries would quickly heal even if they did. In the end, Flame City's City Lord gritted his teeth and bellowed, "Everyone, listen up. We're moving the city." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present was shocked. Moving city? Moving the city wasn't a small matter. Furthermore, Blazing City relied on this volcano to develop to its current level. If they were to move it, wouldn't they have wasted so many years of effort? However, this Scorching Unicorn obviously came for the volcano. If it stayed here, who would dare to stay in Blazing City? Even Flame City's City Lord wasn't willing to move. Therefore, this group of people decided to give up and leave Blazing City with the others to find a new location. This group of people are scared. Yi Xian thought to himself. It seemed that he had to find another way. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to see how much this Scorching Unicorn could recover. Therefore, he watched as Flame City's City Lord led his people away, leaving behind an empty city. Wei Zhantian, enter the volcano and take a look. After that, Yi Xian remotely gave Wei Zhantian an order to enter the volcano to investigate. Wei Zhantian immediately rushed to the volcano and searched around. He found that Scorching Unicorn was hiding in the lava at the bottom of the volcano. Its aura was rapidly growing stronger. I'll be able to break through in 2 more days. I want to see if you're faster than me. Yi Xian thought to himself in a place very far away from the volcano. He had the immortal grade devouring system, so his leveling speed was faster than anyone else. Although the Scorching Unicorn was recovering, it couldn't be faster than him, right? 2 days later. Ding! Host broke through. Host is now a 4th stage Saint Spirit. Yi Xian finally broke through. Now he could go and fight with the Scorching Unicorn. He immediately broke through the void and arrived outside the volcano. Then he directly charged in. The Scorching Unicorn seemed to have sensed Yi Xian's presence. It immediately jumped out of the lava and waited quietly. Soon, the two met again. You're my mission target. How can I do it if you don't die? Yi Xian's eyes flickered. He immediately attacked. However, what surprised him was that this time, the Scorching Unicorn had broken through to the 6th stage Saint Spirit Realm. What a scam. I don't care if you're a 5th stage Saint Spirit Realm or a 6th stage Saint Spirit Realm. You're going to die today. Yi Xian didn't care about anything else and directly attacked. Unfortunately, this Scorching Unicorn had broken through to the 6th stage Saint Spirit Realm. Moreover, the surrounding environment was still a volcano. Therefore, Yi Xian still couldn't kill it. However, just as Yi Xian was about to leave, he suddenly sensed a slight change in the surrounding environment. The temperature had dropped. Yi Xian turned his head and saw a huge figure in the distance. This time, it was a light blue Qilin that came. The Scorching Unicorn sensed the arrival of the Ice Unicorn. It immediately roared at the sky. It actually ignored Yi Xian and rushed toward the Ice Unicorn. In the blink of an eye, the 2 unicorns clashed. This Frost Qilin had actually fought against the Flaming Sun Qilin in the past. Both sides had suffered heavy injuries, and afterwards, the Flaming Sun Qilin had been discovered by the 4 patriarchs of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, who had used the 4 gods' Heavenlock formation to seal it away. As for the Ice Unicorn, it found a place by itself and fell into a deep sleep. That day, the Scorching Unicorn broke through the seal. The sleeping Ice Unicorn sensed it and rushed over. Today when they met, the 2 unicorn emitted a look of wanting to fight to the death. The heavens are really helping me. After sorting out his thoughts, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He immediately used the time reversal skill to return to the past. Just now, he had already fought a battle with the Scorching Unicorn and used up some of his energy. Thus, he wanted to let the Scorching Unicorn and the Ice Unicorn fight to the death. Then, he would act and kill the Scorching Unicorn. After all, the Scorching Unicorn was his mission objective. Time reversed. The Scorching Unicorn was recovering in the volcano. However, this time, Yi Xian did not come looking for it. Instead, it was the Ice Unicorn that came looking for it. The 2 unicorn met again and began to fight. After that, Yi Xian broke through the void and arrived. Black Horn, hurry up and devour this volcano.
Yi Xian quickly summoned Black Horn.
Upon receiving the order, Black Horn opened its mouth and began to devour crazily.
The scorching unicorn could recover its cultivation in this place. As long as the volcano was devoured, its strength would also decrease. Roar! The scorching unicorn could not help but roar at the sky when it felt the surrounding temperature rapidly drop. Chapter 1958. After a while, the volcano was completely devoured by Black Unicorn, leaving nothing behind. On the other side, Ice Unicorn was also a 6th-stage Saint Lord, so it was evenly matched with Scorching Unicorn. Roar! Scorching Unicorn was fighting Ice Unicorn while guarding against Yi Xian. It felt that the situation was not good. A sacred beast of this level was probably smarter than humans, so it was not stupid. Before Yi Xian made his move, it retreated. You want to leave? Not so easy. Yi Xian's eyes lit up, and his aura surged. It was time to make a move. Peerless Sword Duel. Yi Xian immediately summoned his Sword Immortal clone, but he did not join the battle. Ice Unicorn and the Sword Immortal clone were enough to give Scorching Unicorn a lot of trouble. This was not the main point. The main point was that Yi Xian was using the human wave tactic. Countless immortal slaying puppets and countless immortal extinguishing arrows were summoned by the Sword Immortal clone and attacked Scorching Unicorn. Scorching Unicorn had lost its volcano environment, so its recovery ability was much weaker. After being injured by the Sword Immortal clone, the immortal extinguishing arrows pierced into its body in droves. After a few rounds, Scorching Unicorn was covered in wounds. Blood flowed out of its body, instantly turning into flames, which were quickly extinguished by the cold air. Yi Xian had been watching the battle from afar. After all, Scorching Unicorn did not seem to be on the verge of death. If the last Scorching Unicorn was not killed by him, then he would not be able to complete the random mission. However, he felt that there was almost no chance of turning the tables in this battle. As expected, with Yi Xian and Ice Unicorn working together, Scorching Unicorn was heavily injured and on the verge of death. This was Yi Xian's chance to make a move. In an instant, Yi Xian switched places with the Sword Immortal clone and switched the Peerless Sword Duel in his hand to the one-hit kill sword. Myriad Beasts Diagram. Sword Immortal descends. One sword flying immortal. Yi Xian's aura skyrocketed. He turned into a streak of white light and entered Scorching Unicorn's head. He pierced through his entire body, piercing through his head and heart. After struggling for a while, Scorching Unicorn's huge body fell to the ground. Death. This time, Yi Xian had triggered the one-hit kill effect. It was unknown whether it was due to luck or the fact that Scorching Unicorn was already on the verge of death. In any case, he was killed by Yi Xian. Ding. Host has completed the random mission. Reward. Immortal Eye Unicorn Bloodline Advancement. The reward this time was not bad. After all, the Immortal Eye Unicorn Bloodline Advancement had 4 paths, which was equivalent to 4 devouring points. Yi Xian's pursuit of Scorching Unicorn was not in vain. However, the death of the Flaming Sun Qilin infuriated the Ice Qilin because the Flaming Sun Qilin was its archenemy. Now that the Flaming Sun Qilin had died at the hands of others, it naturally could not stand by and watch. Roar! Ice Unicorn roared and charged at Yi Xian. At the same time, Yi Xian kept Scorching Unicorn's corpse. In the next instant, a system notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Host has obtained a unicorn's heart. It can be used for the Infernal Ghostly Lord's evolution. Would you like to proceed? After hearing the system notification, Yi Xian was stunned. Unicorn's heart? Yes. At that moment, Yi Xian directly replied. What a joke. How could he not agree? The old tree had been silent for a long time. From the time Yi Xian could merge with the World Destroyer Ghostly Dragon, to the rise of Patian, and then to the time he merged with the Sword Immortal Bloodline, the old tree had never had a foothold. Now it could finally evolve again. Ding! Infernal Ghostly Lord merged with the unicorn's heart and evolved into the Infernal God Unicorn. The old tree had successfully evolved. Infernal Ghostly Lord had evolved into the Infernal God Unicorn and had the unicorn bloodline. However, this was not the end. Before Yi Xian could check out the Infernal God Unicorn skills, the system notification sounded again. Ding! Immortal Eye Unicorn Bloodline Advancement. Ding! Immortal Phoenix Bloodline Advancement. 2 consecutive system notifications sounded. Yi Xian's strength had increased again. The immortal Ai Qilin bloodline had advanced a total of 2 times, increasing Yi Xian's physique by 20%. In addition, the Qilin True Qi, rebirth from fire, and so on had also increased. However, what Yi Xian was concerned about was how strong the old tree had become after evolving. He took a look and realized that the old tree only had one skill after evolving, and that was the unicorn sky incinerating flames. "Old tree, I'll leave this ice unicorn to you," Yi Xian said. "This old man has been silent for so long. Finally I can show my skills. Leave it to me." The old tree grinned widely. At this moment, he'd already appeared beside Yi Xian. After advancing, his entire aura had changed. The flame aura on his body was even more exuberant than the flaming sun Qilin from before. Roar! The ice unicorn, which originally wanted to continue attacking, could not help but show a look of fear after seeing the old tree. Kill! Without saying anything, the old tree turned into a flame and rushed towards the ice unicorn. The cold air instantly became violent as the old tree rushed forward. In an instant, the man and the beast exchanged blows. The old tree, who was only an 8th grade sacred spirit, was not inferior to the 6th grade ice unicorn at all. 16 grades, it was easy to get stronger. Of course, this was under the suppression of the myriad beasts diagram. However, if Wei Zhentian turned into the mystic god armor to assist the old tree would probably be even stronger. Bang! 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 Originally, it had turned into a land of extreme ice, but after Old Shu rushed over, the ice melted in an instant, making the surroundings hot instead. Ice and fire had always been incompatible. The higher the temperature, the more uncomfortable the ice unicorn felt. "All right, I'm not going to play with you anymore. I'll show you my true strength." The old tree grinned. In the next moment, his body enlarged rapidly and turned into the infernal god unicorn. Although the infernal god unicorn was not as big as the scorching unicorn, its aura was much stronger than the scorching unicorn. As soon as the infernal god's body appeared, the ice crystals on the ice unicorn's body began to melt rapidly as if they were about to wither. Roar! The ice unicorn finally realized that something was wrong and turned around to escape. Trying to escape? It's too late. The old tree roared, opened its mouth, and spat out a blazing pillar of fire. Unicorn's sky incinerating flame. Boom! This attack directly penetrated the ice unicorn's body and burned it to ashes in the blink of an eye. Ding! The killing intent of the host has increased. A system notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. The trouble was finally solved. This time, Yi Xian had gained a lot. Not only did the old tree mutate into the infernal god unicorn, but the immortal Ai unicorn's bloodline had also evolved twice, and the immortal phoenix bloodline had evolved once. He had really gained a lot.